car in front of them.
Navarro Gutierrez leads the way in 5th place here for Mass Devils Blue. Sitting right now just 3 seconds ahead of Future Racing Team Pro in this battle for 5th place. That's beginning to rage a little bit.
Yeah, the gap is coming down. 25.9 for Mass Devils Blue and 25.3 for the Future Racing Team car. It'll be interesting to see how that one develops. They're on very different strategies. Mass Devil Blue still on that slightly longer stint, fuel stint strategy, but taking an early stop last stint, possibly due to picking up a little bit of damage. They definitely haven't had a drive-through in recent times, so it'll be interesting to see how their race unfolds. The gap has opened up at the front of the fields. Although Magic Arrow 55 have closed down to within 10 rather than outside of 12. But the Project Dynamic Green team have lost a bit of pace, now 20 seconds off the lead and 10 seconds behind the car in front. Maybe they are carrying a little bit of damage. Maybe it's a bit of a lack of confidence now in Stravato, or that fatigue starting to creep in a little bit. Only time's going to tell for the rest of this stint and what the 71 team decide to do. As Mass Devils Blue have managed to eke the gap out a little bit more, back over 3 seconds now, 25.4 last time round. Traffic helping them out a little bit there, keeping the Future Racing Team car firmly behind them. They're going to have a relatively clear run through the Mercedes-Benz Arena, but are going to get checked up maybe a little bit behind a GT in the stadium section. We're having another one of those moments where the GTPs are starting to close in on a really big gaggle of GTs, because you've got 11th, 3rd, 2nd, 6th and 14th in class in GT3, all practically nose to tail, and our GTP drivers have got to pick their way through that.
The leading cars in GT3 Pro are in Alberto Moreno in for Carbono Esports. That's 2nd place in GT3 Pro.
That is on strategy. That's another 35 lap stint from these folks. Again, very, very well driven so far. They've kept it completely clean. They've still got a minute, a lap over the Karuma Motorsports car once they get rolling again and the pit stop cycles out. But they just don't seem to have an answer for that Euromaster Esports car, who have absolutely killed it so far this race. XBD Emerald still banging in the lap times at the moment, 25.0 last time round, compared to Magic Arrow's 25.3 and PDG's 26.3. Their pace has really dropped off since that incident. Now, we were talking about the gap between the AZR Motorsport car and the really slow motion racing car earlier this stint. We are coming up to the end of AZR Motorsport's stint, possibly even pitting this lap. But the gap has closed down a little bit. It's now 4.6 between the BMW and the Ferrari. And we've seen how powerful the undercut can be this late in the race. So perhaps the BMW team are going to be able to pull something off here as they enter the pit lane. Or do they?
Here comes Karuma Motorsport in pit lane. Same with AZR Motorsport. Not on the same lap.
Be really interesting to see if these guys come out in clean air so they can take all the time they need to get those tires up to temperature. And we're going to see if they can bring the gap down to that really slow motion Ferrari. Again, really not living up to their name considering they still have the fastest lap in GT3. The GTP leaders all having to deal with traffic at the moment. 26s across the board, with only 2 cars in the 25s at the moment. Just that far behind, they're not having to deal with any of the traffic. In fact, with this pit stop cycle, that big gaggle of GTs has dissolved completely, and now we're just looking at some very well spread out cars. nice and easy for these drivers to manage. Unless you catch them in just the wrong section and you end up being behind them in braking zones every single corner.
CR Motorsport sitting top 5 at the moment. They have over a lap in hand to SR Technic, sitting 6th place at the moment with Jorge Mendes Pinheiro.
Great name.
Virtual Insanity Racing in the lead of this race still by a little over, almost 2 laps there. They've lost a little bit of time, but still nothing to panic about as it stands right now, as they coast on through with less than 3 hours left to go in this race. Euromasters Esports in pit lane and out, with Juan Manuel Frias Gomez out of pit lane once again, going for another stint in that Porsche.
Where does that put him out relative to their closest rival? The P2 car's just come out of the Spitzka hairpin.
Yeah, they've got a really good advantage right now. And there's 71.
Carmen, I think they've gained. I think they've gained in the pit stop. It's way more than 38 seconds by the look of things.
Very possible.
Crazy pace. XPDM are all back inside the 25s now. Eking that gap out a little bit more. 23 seconds separates the 2 cars involved in an incident earlier. Again, such a shame to see that fight end like that. I hope it can come back to us later on in the race, but yeah, it's not the sort of thing we... Oh, Carmen! Drive-through penalty for the number 5 XBD Emerald Racing car.
That's what we were expecting.
The incident responsibility in the collision between them and the 71 Project Dynamic Green car.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
And deserved. Very much deserved. It was a very audacious move, especially with almost 3 hours to go. Completely unnecessary. But Carmen, that's going to put the Magic Arrow 55 car back into the lead.
Yeah.
We haven't said that for a very long time this race. Very much been the XBD Emerald Racing and Project Dynamic Green show for the last couple of hours.
Yeah, this throws things right into the mix here. And the thing is, like, SPD Emerald Racing, that drive-through will not get them, it'll put them between the 55 and 71.
It'll be tight. It'll be tight. It's even for a drive-through, it's not that slow a pit lane, but it might be worth those 25 seconds. You've got to remember, it's way over a minute for a stop, and you're stationary for a minute. So we'll have to keep an eye on these folk and see if they make that drive-through now, see if it's been communicated with them. They get held up by this GT in here. Do they take the drive-through now, or are they going to wait? They're going to wait. I think they're going to leave it as late as possible and try and eat the gap out a lot more. I think what's going to make things really exciting is if they drop back behind the Project Dynamic Green car after the next driver swap. I think we're going to see it all collapse onto itself all over again.
Yeah.
And then it's just a repeat of what happened 3 hours ago.
Oh, this will be interesting. When does Alberto Garcia Blasco serve that drive-through? Obviously, he's trying to open that gap as much as he possibly can before he does so. Right now.
Well, if I'm them, I do it now. Get it out of the way as early as possible. Give yourself 2 hours and 35 minutes to get that gap back. They know they've got the pace to do it. So I don't know why they're waiting so long to take it. Ooh, slow GT3 on pit exit.
Yeah.
Wow, that was close.
Yep, that was Carlos Miguel Duarte leaving pit lane.
Whoa, that would have been an absolute aeroplane crash.
Really slow motion racing, the 229. Andres Kuzma in pit lane now. This could be a driver change.
Yep, the AZR Motorsport car has already pitted, 54 seconds behind them at the last check. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they come out. See if I can spot them on track. The car in P5 just coming into the Mercedes-Benz Arena, Carmen, if you can find them. And through turn 10 now, as the 229 car has come to a stop. And through the BMW comes into the stadium section. Hard on the brakes through turn 10, right out wide on exit. Slamming on for the hairpin. Get in that camber, use that camber. Let it swing you through the corner. Hop those curbs. Hard on the brakes. And the 229 car still stationary on pit lane. Final corner, still stationary. Oh, Carmen, this is going to be tight. Car in P4 is now rolling. GTP might no, it's going to clear the BMW nice and easily. But now that really slow motion Ferrari has to get their tyres up to temperature, and they're only a few seconds up the road from this BMW.
Gonna be a really close battle here between AZR and Lily Slow Motion. An issue further down the order, though. Daniel Cruz has had an issue. This is Daniel Cruz, the Iberian driver. We're going to get a look at where he has had his issue. I don't think we are.
Oh, hello. What was that?
A little bit latency there for Daniel Cruz. That's in the stadium section, though.
I can't say I've seen that one before, Carmen.
That's the 299, the Core Autosport. The Core Motorsports car. That looks like it is in the stadium section. That's in the hairpin.
Yeah, that was a very strange spin. That feels similar to the BMW that spun earlier in this race on the way into the stadium section. Very, very weird spin there. Back to the fight for P4 in GT3 Pro. The gap between the Ferrari and the BMW is now down to 3.1 seconds and closing. You can really see the way that those warm tyres are helping the AZR BMW close that gap down as it comes under 3 seconds. Give it another lap or so before the Ferrari can even get those tyres up to temperature. And these two are going to have a GTP to deal with here in a moment, Carmen.
This is going to be a very interesting dilemma for them to face right now. Really slow motion racing, trying to just walk away from this as quickly as they can.
Good timing on that GTP from the BMW. Doesn't even hinder it into the next corner. Barely even having to deal with the dirty air.
And same thing going for the really slow motion racing car. This will be done and over before the hairpin. The
gap is still coming down. It's going to be nice and clear for the RSM car coming into the hairpin. Again, that BMW is still coming. This is that section of the track where it's really, really strong. And we're still waiting and watching for XPD Emerald Racing to take their drive through. They haven't yet. Although, actually, no, they haven't yet. They just had a really slow lap last time round. 27.3, perhaps a slowdown somewhere? While that was happening whilst the Core Motorsports car was having its issues in the stadium section.
Yeah.
They'll be forgiven for missing that one. 10 seconds, though, is still the gap between XBD Emerald and Magic Arrow. 29 seconds is the gap between them and the car they got the drive-through for. Yep, there it is. So where is that P2 car? Coming into the stadium section now. Oh, no. Coming out of the stadium section. Coming across the start-finish line, in fact. They're going to have so much more overspeed relative to the number 5 car here. I think the 5's coming to the lead here. Not the 5 even, the 55.
Yeah, it's not by much. It's not by much.
So, Project Dynamic Green now praying for these two cars to get into a proper fight. So we've still got another 16 laps before these folk pit. So we're going to have a really, really long stint here. if Blasco can get onto the tail of the car in front, start fighting for position. Some credit to the really slow motion racing team there. Gap between them and the BMW now up to 3 seconds. They've done a really good job of getting those tyres up to temperature and maintaining pace as they're starting to pull away a little bit now.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was a close moment between the Ferrari and the GTP there. The Magicara 55 car just getting up alongside a little bit late. Ferrari GT3 already committed to the turn-in and then continued to turn in when there was a car alongside. No major issue there though, but that could have been dicey. A little bit of traffic in front of these two now. The slipstream from the GT3 ahead going to help out the Magicara 55 car just a little bit. Help them stay out of striking distance of the XPD Emerald car. Not that we can guarantee that one after earlier this race. Yeah, it's not going to help him. Getting held up behind that BMW on the exit of the Mercedes-Benz Arena.
Yeah.
Opens that gap up a little bit more to over 1.5 seconds. But the thing is, we know XPD Emerald has the pace to claw that gap back. But perhaps a little bit of frustration lingering at the moment. The gap's opened up now to over 2 seconds. Traffic really not falling the way of Garcia Blasco right now.
It really isn't.
And all this going on as the clock ticks just underneath 2.5 hours to go here. Still got a load of strategies that we're waiting to play out here, but we are getting towards those final couple of stints of this race. 3 more to go, and we got a couple of cars out of position with good pace that is hopefully going to provide us with a little bit of excitement towards the end of this one here, Carmen.
That is the hope right now. And right now it's looking like it's going to be that way. A little bit of issues here further on down the order. We've got another, let's say another incident to look at here. Akko Senzeki from Future Racing Team Pro. What happens here? This is in the stadium section. Oh, drops it.
Oh. Does it collect anyone?
No, almost.
Fortunately not. That Ferrari did have to check up quite on that GTP just going straight through.
He's like, thank you, I'll have that one.
The scene of the accident. Fantastic. Absolutely no care or thought for anyone on the track there.
This is a little bit further down. This is Rui Felipe Pinheiro. This is the AM Master Technic car. This is in turn 3, turn 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, this is the turn 2, 3, and 4 complex. And
wow, there it goes. Oh,
violent crash there.
I mean, if they had to tow,
doesn't
you know what?
look like
still. So remember, I was talking about how they had that gap over 3rd place in class.
It's gone.
It's certainly going. The AZR Motorsport, actually saying that.
There's an 8-lap gap. So in fairness,
yeah,
they've got an
no, that's
opportunity.
fine. Yeah, never mind. Ignore me. They're absolutely fine. That gap stabilized though between Magicara and XPD Emerald now. Now having to deal with a little bit of traffic at the moment though. They should both get a clean run through the stadium section, which again is the most crucial part of the track for staying away from traffic. It's going to be a bit close. Touch of miscommunication between both the cars in class there. I think the GT3 tried to move over before they realised that the number 5 car of Alberto Garcia Blasco was there. It's a tricky thing about that corner. If you're a GTP, you've got to get over to the right really quickly, really aggressively. You get on the headlight flasher, the GT3 knows you're there. Like, it's an informational thing just to let the car know that you're there in case they haven't spotted you, which is, you know, it's easy enough to miss a car in these sorts of lighting conditions. It's completely pitch black out there. Like, we can barely see what's going on, so you can imagine how tricky it is for the driver. Although, even with that, XPD Emerald have managed to close that gap back down under 1.5 seconds. A little bit of traffic to deal with here, including lap GTPs. And we know they're not easy to pass because, of course, they're pretty much going the same pace. This could be where some positions are traded. Gap, though, for the lead is still up at... Not even for the lead, sorry. Between Project Dynamic Green and the lead is still 22 seconds. They've lost a little bit more time. Really hoping they can get some of that time back. Back up to 2 seconds is the gap for the lead now. Magic Arrow 55 having a really nice time with the traffic. 0 issues. Oh, spinner. That's one of the BMWs. One of the GT3 Pro cars.
Peterson, is that native Delta by Bueller's? No, it is not. Who
Were
was
they
it?
pushed?
Sebastian Peterson.
Were they pushed or did they fall?
Trying to figure out who that was. Sebastian Peterson, who we're trying to look for here.
Where is he?
Not Marcelo Eusebio, who is out of this
Come
race.
On. Hop up. Let's have a look what happened. See, that's the second time we've seen a car go around there. I'm starting to think those...
Oh, this is a Ferrari. I believe that goes for a little bit of a ride. This is a Ferrari that goes for a ride.
Another Ferrari. Another Ferrari. Wow.
This is the future racing team Ferrari that goes around, not the BMW.
Yeah, the marble's really playing havoc with the rear end grip on these Ferraris. That's the second Ferrari we've seen go around in that same section of track in the last 5 laps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps the colder track temperature starting to not suit these cars and shift that grip balance way too far forward, because you do find as the track temperature comes down, the balance of the car changes. So whereas you might have had an understeery car at the start of the race in the high temperatures, as the track grip increases, it comes to the front of the car a bit more, and all of a sudden you're oversteering all over the place. Especially if you're running a little bit wide through the corners and picking up some marbles, it makes the car extremely difficult to drive. And here we are again then, following the overall race leader and GTP class leader, the number 55 Magic Arrow car, 3 seconds ahead of the XPD Emerald racing car, who picked up that penalty earlier on for contact with the number 71 Project Dynamic Green car. The dirty air really starting to come into play here, because we haven't really seen the XPD Emerald car be able to get up on the tail of the Magic Arrow 55 yet. Perhaps a bit of poor looking traffic helping out there, as we've just seen the gap open up to 3 seconds again. But Magic Arrow 55 looking really comfy out front at the moment. At the front of GT3 Pro as well, we have the super fast Euromaster esports car, who put the car on pole for today's event and have managed to pull out a 1 minute and 3 second lead on the Carbono esports car behind them. Again, the consistency and similarity in pace between the drivers of the 264 really helping their race at the moment and just helping them eke out. It's barely tenths of a second per lap, but over the last 250 plus laps of racing, it's really helps those guys out. And then of course at the top of the GT3 AM class, we have the absolutely unstoppable Virtual Insanity Racing number 359 Porsche, who have a 2-lap gap on their entire class. They have been absolutely dominant in this race so far and have been up there the entire time, boxing it out with the likes of AZR Motorsport, who are 5th in GT3, and Really Slow Motion, who are just in front of them in 4th. You've got to give them so much credit for such a fantastic performance. Their pace has been absolutely unmatched in GT3M, and they've had an absolutely flawless race.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal what both these teams have been able to do in this race, given the chaos, especially we saw in the first 4 hours of this race. It's been just absolutely magical.
A little bit of lappery there as one of the Magic Arrow cars runs a little bit deep on the Euromaster Esports car. Clearly unhappy with the way the Euromaster Esports car drove there. And the Euromaster Esports car not happy about the way they drove. A little bit of beef maybe developing between those teams, so we'll see. Slowly now we do close in on the 2 hours to go mark. Ooh, that's an aggressive move from that GTP there. Almost a little bit of contact through turn 11 with the GT3 lead in Porsche. Again, this is what we're coming to expect in the closing hours of this race now. Everyone's settled into their position, know what needs to be done to move forward, and they are absolutely going for it. The health of their car be damned.
We're in the stage of the race right now where it definitely can change. And speaking of things changing, Balazs-Tarozzi, I'm going to talk about cars in trouble. This is the 55 Magic Arrow car, saying that there was some sort of issue. I wonder if it's just a checkup here for Tarozzi in that 55 machine. Oh, he does go really wide. A little bit of a stumbling block for the 55 car, allowing the number 5 to get back into it. Oh, trouble. Trouble for the leading car in GT3 AM. A tow back to pit lane for Philip Spez. What has happened to the leading car in GT3 AM? That is interesting. Hopefully nothing serious, because that could throw GT3 AM upside down at the worst possible time. Goodness. Mishk back in this car, though. Kevin Simon's had an issue as well. Kevin Simon having an incident there on 241. And here comes Lemmy Mishk back out on track. This is Halbsod Motorsport for Kevin Simon. What happens here? Oh, this is not going to be pretty. Ooh. A violent crash for Kevin Simon. Might have well effectively end the race for Halbsod Motorsport, as Lemmy Mishk back out on track for Virtual Insanity Racing.
Yeah, those GT3s, the Ferrari GT3s really not enjoying these conditions at the moment. That's the third one we've seen spin in the last 10 minutes or so, Carmen. Did we find out what happened to the Virtual Insanity Racing car? They've still got a 3-lap gap to the car behind, but
there was just I don't know. There was some sort of damage repair done to that car because they spent an extended time in pit lane, but not by much. So I don't know. I maybe it was because there was a lag issue on pit lane when they were doing the driver change that it popped up, but they did repair a little bit of damage. So that'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye on. Either way, they're still leading by a healthy amount right now. They've got a 3-lap lead.
Yeah, speaking of leading,
oh, no!
Oh, there it is. They've spun.
Asking ye shall receive, and that's a Porsche.
Again, that's not really eating much into their 3-lap lead, but as this is happening, Carmen, the fight for the overall lead of the race is close to within a second. XPD Emerald have managed to close down from that 3-second gap and are now within a second of the car in front.
Here we go.
That 55 Cadillac is really going to start feeling the pressure from the car behind now, as they'll be able to see the headlights darting in and out of their rear view mirror. Going to get held up by this GT3 through here as well, which might even let that gap close down a lot more. Oh, very tight squeeze. Very tight movements from both GTPs there. A tight squeeze around the outside for the number 5 car, and then a very tight squeeze down the inside for the 55. These guys are playing it absolutely rough and loose with these GTs, Carmen.
Yeah, they are letting it all hang out here at this point. You can tell the cars that are comfortable right now and who isn't. I'd be tiptoeing my way around this at this point. You're almost 8 hours into this race. I'd be tiptoeing. Just get me to the end of this race.
Honestly, I'm here for it. Anything
it's absolutely entertaining. It's absolutely entertaining, but it's one of those things, like, as a driver, I'm just like, nah, not for me. There's a reason I'm in the...
PDG have lost 25 seconds to the leader. They're 25 seconds behind the leader. Have they had a spin? Did they pit?
So, I don't know what happened here.
I think they've had a spin, Carmen.
So, I don't know what's happened or if they've been just slowed down, because XPD Emerald Racing, they've come down pit lane.
That's it, XPD Emerald, right. That's why I heard the beeping on pit lane. I didn't even notice they come into the pits. I was way too focused on how close that gap was. They've come down pit
lane. They met their pit stop cycle, which means the Magic Arrow is not far away.
It is a touch early, in fact. Magic Arrow usually about 5 laps behind this car. So that is a little bit early, but I think that might have been on strategy. There was a big old gaggle of GTs in front of the lead fight that now XPD Emerald aren't going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
Either way, lap 29 of Magic Arrow 55's stint, as their gap to the car behind is 24 seconds. So what we're waiting on now is to see how quickly the number 5 car can get those tyres up to temp and start getting that gap closed down. When they went into the pits, the gap was just over a second. So we'll find out just how effective those new fresh tyres have been in about 5 laps time, Carmen.
Yeah. We're going to find out pretty quickly how it's going to pop off here. And again, a lot of these cars right now have another driver change to make too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another big question mark that we have at the moment is how fast are Project Dynamic Green going to be when they come out of the pits? We are expecting them to make a driver change at the next stop in a couple of laps time here. And we'll have to see if they've got any repairs to make and then how much pace they've got left in the tank. We think they're putting Caspers in the car next, and he's been the fastest driver on track for the most part so far this race. So the question is going to be, in 2 hours and 10 minutes, can he bring that gap back down and retake P1 for the number 71 team?
Yeah. That is, I mean, there's a lot of big questions that have to be asked now within this top 5. as things continue to get a little bit hectic. Magic Arrow 55 still yet to make a pit stop here. Project Dynamic Green, still 27 seconds adrift.
Very much due a stop from them soon, though. Expect them in within the next couple of laps. It's their 33rd lap of the stint, and they did 33 last stint. So this could be it. They do need a big in-lap, though. So they need to try and close as much time as they can to the car ahead and clear the car behind as much as they can. Every second counts now, Carmen, because our drivers are running out of time to pull off their miracles. A little bit of an unexpected bit of patience from that GTP car there.
Yeah,
I would have thought they'd been a little bit more brave to send it down the inside, especially from the PDG car into the stadium section. They've been very aggressive all race, nearly going into the back of the GT3 anyway. So they may as well have just gone down the inside there. But yeah, that's held them up a little bit more. The gap to XPD Emerald has actually closed by a second thanks to that. 27.5 for them last lap, whereas the race lead is on 25.3. It's not good news for our guys in the 71 car.
Yeah, the question is, you know, what's going to happen in this final stanza when all these closers come in to fill these cars? Who's going to stack up where pace-wise? We know that Caspers will be the driver to take over the 71 in about the next, let's say, next half hour, 45 minutes.
It's coming soon, Carmen.
Yeah,
it's coming soon.
Coming soon because we're almost to the 8-hour mark.
Yeah, by any projection, the Project Dynamic Green car is coming into the pits this time by.
And we'll see how accurate that is. Going through the stadium section now.
We're going to have a relatively clean run through the stadium section as well, so this is all going to count. Again, though, the XPD Emerald car has got those tyres switched on. They've closed in another 2 seconds on the car that we're currently following.
Yeah.
And the gap to the leader for them is only 37, a minute and 8 seconds even.
That's going to be a very close battle in pit lane, too. Here they come.
Pit stop.
Travado comes in.
If I'm the Magic Arrow 55 team, I'd box this lap as well. XPD Emerald are going way, way too quick for me to stay out on these tyres now. They're up at the Spitsker hairpin, and they've got a couple of GTs to deal with up there, which is really going to hamper them. That third place car may only be coming into the stadium section now, but as we've seen so far this race, it is a very, very long pit stop. PDG stationary on pit lane still now. XPD coming out of the stadium section. AZR Motorsports now 12 seconds though behind really slow motion Ferrari. I think they've had a small incident there, Carmen. There it is. There's the Magic Arrow car. As I predicted, you pit now because they're catching anyway. Might as well give yourself the best chance of getting out in front of them.
Absolutely.
The gap, 1 minute and 2 seconds at last update.
Yeah.
As the XPD Emerald car is coming up to the Spitsker hairpin, they're going to have to deal with that same traffic that the other 2 cars have just had to deal with. So are they going to hold them up significantly enough that our current leaders can come out in the lead? 55 car is now still stationary on pit lane as the 5 car enters the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Checking up maybe a little bit behind that GT3, not an optimal line. Gonna have to check up again on the entry to the stadium section. 2 GT3s in front of them this time. Whoa, a little bit of a slide. That's contact. There's contact between the number 5. The potential to take the race lead may be taken away by that touch with the Ferrari there.
That is a disaster. That is an absolute disaster. Once again, it cannot get out of its own way.
55's rolling. 55's back on track. The 55's going to come out in the lead, Carmen. I think they call that karma.
I think another drive-through might be coming its way.
No, I don't think so. I think that was some unavoidable contact because the Ferrari GT3 in front, just again, another Ferrari GT3 getting loose through a corner. They just really don't like these conditions. I really genuinely don't think there's anything that the number 5 car could have done there. And I'd be willing to absolve them of all blame for that one, as the gap between them and the leader is now 7 seconds. That got a little bit tight between the 55 and that Porsche there. I think that was the Euromaster Esports car squeezing the overall race leader just a touch on the entrance to the Mercedes-Benz arena there. Maybe communicating they weren't happy with how late they went for the move. But wow, what an exciting couple of minutes there, Carmen.
Yeah, that was a almost disaster there. Magic Arrow getting away with one right now. Holding on to that race lead without a lot of pressure. Tarozzi now pretty well just has to keep the car pointed straight while all the pressure is now on the 5 and the 71.
Yep, the Project Dynamic green car has made it stop. Has it changed drivers, Carmen?
The 5 car making a stop here. We'll see what this car does first. Pablo Alvarez in that car right now. Project Dynamic has changed drivers. Casper's in the car. Here we go.
Is in,
and that's a drive-through for Alvarez.
Is it? Really? No.
That was a drive-through. I don't know if it was. I don't know. It's not been announced in the race control chat, but that was a straight drive-through.
Carmen, is there an incident limit in this race?
There are incident penalties. Yeah.
So if there's an iRacing incident limit,
that's another drive-through.
Kicked in an automatic drive-through.
Yeah.
Then that could be what's happened to these guys there. Wow. Goodness me, how their race has unfolded since the contact with the 71. Speaking of the 71, 29 seconds behind the leader. When they came out the pits, that was 30. I think the race is on here, Carmen.
It has to be on. Caspers has to push now for the last 2 hours.
And we know he can. We know he's quick. But what we also know is the fact that the Magic Arrow car is going to have to make a slightly shorter stop than these guys at the end of the race, which could play into it. Depending on how good of a defender the driver of the 55 car is, could mean the end of this race is going to be really, really dramatic.
What a wild experience here. Top 3 cars all within 30 seconds, and the 7 cars not out of range completely yet.
Yeah, they've been quietly plugging away this race as well. Still on their extended fuel stint strategy. 37 laps out of them last stint. And banging in the 25 still. Yep, as reported to us, the car 5 drive-through was for the incident point. The automatic iRacing penalty. That'll be from the contact with the... Unfortunately, on this particular occasion, unavoidable for them, especially through a corner like that. Very unfortunate for them, but as they say, karma is a cat. And as the Nix Esports car comes in for their stop, 32 laps that stint. Still with a good gap over the number 10 Mass Devils blue car, but that fight looks like it might develop over the course of the rest of the race.
And this is Albert Blanc getting in that car.
Albert Blanc's been quick all race as well, so it'll be interesting to see if they can bring that gap down. Mass Devils both running 4th and 5th at the moment.
Garcia in the 7.
I have also just noticed, completely irrelevant to anything, the Mass Devils red car is in all caps, but the Mass Devils blue car isn't.
On my screen, they're the same. So I have no idea.
It's weird. I don't know then. Maybe I'm imagining things. It's like I might be imagining that I just heard a car spinning out, but everyone looks to be rolling on track.
That is not imaginary. That is Chris Vasiloff that has had an issue. And this is what it was.
Was it another Ferrari? No, it's a BMW this time.
It's a BMW. It is the 278, the native Delta by Bueller's. And this is into the stadium section with a little bit of help.
Oh! Who's that GTP they took out?
That is Pablo Alfieri, Go Esports, the 23.
I mean, unfortunate for them in their race.
That
2 laps behind the car in front of them, but wow, how unfortunate for them. I think we're going to expect another little penalty to pop through here.
Possibly. GT3 and GT3 violence on that one to kick that start.
Impressively, through all that, XPD Emerald not managing to drop position to the Project Dynamic green car. Gap between them now is the same as the gap was between PDG and Magic Arrow when PDG recovered from that little bit of contact.
Yeah, so confirmation is coming through that the 5-car drive-through was an incident point issue. They did not issue it. They have not issued any investigation for the contact with the 71.
Yeah. I don't think that was ever going to happen. That was just a racing incident. Again, though, this race just keeps treating us to tiny little bits of intrigue. It's almost worth the little bits of lulls between it. My focus now, though, is on the pace of the number 71 car. 25.1 compared to 29.7s from the other 2 lead cars. Very excited to see how that develops over the course of the next few. Already pulled down a second relative to the XBD Emerald car. So again, it's Casper's absolutely flying. But the thing is, a 30-second gap is a lot to overhaul when you've got another car to go through. But the second place car getting caught up behind a little bit of traffic coming out the final sector now and into turn 1. Whereas the Project Dynamic green car is going to have a nice clean run through it and clear another GT before they get to turn 2. As we follow the number 55 Magic Arrow car through the Spitsker hairpin down towards the Mercedes-Benz Arena once again. And if you can see, look at all that traffic in front of him. It's nose to tail GT3s once again. The short length of Hockenheim really throwing these little difficult bits of traffic at us. Just keep spicing this race up, throwing in little bits of intrigue. Absolutely no issues getting through that first BMW, but the second one is going to be a little bit trickier for it. Oh, and a slow Ferrari on the outside. Everyone's going to get checked up a little bit behind that one. Oh, it's going to be almost 3 wide into the final 2 corners. Wow, what a decisive move from Tiroz. You're going to have to help me out there, Carmen.
Tirozi.
A fantastically decisive move from Tirozi.
Yeah, Tirozi did a really good job, and again, he's trying to expand that gap. It's now 22 seconds right now, which is crucial.
I think he was fortunate enough there, though, that the BMW backed out of going down the inside of the Ferrari there, because those 2 were almost 3 wide coming into that second to last corner. Speaking of maintaining gaps, the number 5 XPD Emerald racing car not doing a very good job of maintaining the gap to the car behind it. That's another second gone. The gap's now only 7.5 seconds. Maybe we'll see some street justice later on in this race, Carmen, because I can't imagine Casper's is very happy with what happened earlier between their 2 cars.
Possibly not, no.
Casper's, though, still absolutely flying. 25.3 in traffic. 2 cars in front of him, 26.0 and a 26.4. Unreal pace for him at the moment. Nick's Esports as well, closing the gap to the car in front of them. 25.3 for them last lap. The gap's just come under 8 seconds in the fight for P6. So again, that could be something that comes to us later on in the race. Mass Devil's red still there, 25.7. 47 seconds behind the next car, minute and 17 off the cars in front. So the thing is, if they can erase that extra stop, it's going to put them with the leaders, or just a little bit behind. And their pace has still been really strong, even with the fuel saving. If they've done it right, they might even be able to just get to the end full push in the final stint. But we'll have to wait and see as the race dips below 2 hours to go, Carmen.
Yeah, we are entering the final 2 hours of this race here in Hockenheim. Longest race of the season so far, longest stream for ABN so far.
Ever?
Minus the 24 hours that we did onboard of. This is the longest official broadcast, yeah.
Wow. How exciting. And what a broadcast it's been. We've had spins, crashes, audacious moves up and down the field. Is this another spin for a Ferrari?
Same Ferrari, Halbsod Motorsport. Was there assistance in this outside lane in the marbles?
On the gravel, yeah, on the marbles again, and round it goes. Like these Ferraris just not handling them well. No,
they're not.
Like a fifth in the last hour that's done that.
And even more trouble, Jorge Mendes Pinheiro. This one just happened. What happened to SR Technic? This is the SR Technic 213 BMW. What happened to them?
It's disappeared, Carmen. Oh, it's back.
This is going to the
same place,
same exact corner. This time just from the inside lane.
Yeah, just touch the curb a little bit. Like you can ride that curb. It's not fast though. I try and avoid it as best I can, but
wow.
Man, just a lot of drivers really starting to struggle now in these conditions. Because the tiredness and fatigue creeps in. We've still got these 19-degree track temps. Pretty strong wind as well still.
Yeah, it's not necessarily getting colder, but it's just getting a lot more difficult to keep things pointing in the right direction here.
Oh, sorry, I just got impressed by the way the 55 hooked up the turn in for turn 11. There's nothing I love more than a planted downforce car. It just does exactly what you want it to. I like prototypes. Did you know that, Carmen?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe just a smidge.
It's them hybrid motors to get me as well. I was watching the 8 hours of Bahrain earlier, and off board you could hear the regen noises from the Ferrari, and it was absolutely glorious. Just keeping an eye on some of these gaps here. The Nix Esports car is within 2 seconds of the Future Racing Team car. Perhaps a small incident for the number 18 car, but it is leaving them under threat from the 33. It will be for position as the gap comes below a second, Carmen.
There we go. This is the battle we're talking about here right now going on between Shinseki and Blanc. Shinseki in the 18, Blanc in the 33.
A third GTP involved in this as well. That's let's have a look. I can't quite see them on the track map. So we've got 6th and 7th. Okay, so the trailing car isn't part of this battle from the look of things. Albert Blanc, who's had his fair share of issues this race, being chased down now. A little bit wide through the hairpin for both of those drivers. Gap's still below a second. A little bit of traffic to deal with here. Maybe the 33 gets opportunistic as everyone checks up a touch. Whoa, almost a bit of door banging there with one of the GTs. But this is it. If you get a good exit here, you're going to get a run into turn 2. That GT's just checks everyone up a touch. It's looking like they want to go 3 wide into turn 2 here. Oh, this is so tight, Carmen. Nothing to separate between these folk. A slipstream battle all the way down to the Spitzke hairpin again now. 0.6 seconds is still the gap. I'm trying to figure out which car it is that isn't involved in this fight, Carmen.
Good luck.
That's it. That's it. That was the move. That was the change of position. Nick's Esports, number 33, sends it down the inside of the Spitzke hairpin on the Future Racing team. A brilliant move. Just as the pace of the Future Racing team car has dropped off a touch in the last few laps, Nick's Esports absolutely takes advantage and just goes straight through. And is already nearly a second ahead, Carmen.
Yeah, once Albert Blanc got clear, I figured that he would be pretty well set up there. Mastel's blue in pit lane, likewise.
Yep, that is on strat. Well, that's a little bit early for them, actually. Only 33 laps completed this stint for them, when last stint they did 35. It's interesting to see what's going on there. Perhaps a little bit of damage, or they can probably still get to the end on their strategy from here, but it just feels early. But that stop promotes Nick's Esports up into P5 now. When a lap ago, Carmen, they were 7th.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much things have changed so far in the last, really the last hour.
Yeah, that's the beauty of endurance racing. Really anything can happen as we watch the number 33 Nick's Esports car carve their way through a couple of GT3s. It's always a tricky thing to look out for on some of these tracks. You get relatively short runs between corners, such as between turns 11 and 12, where the GT3s, when you're trying to lap them, are going to be changing size of the track, and it's where most of the incidents happen. Really, really difficult to manage. As I was saying earlier, you've got to make that move over to the other side of the track early, get on the headlights, and then hope if the GT3 does change lanes, they commit to it. And that is, in fact, the XPD ML Racing car in front of this. That was the car that wasn't involved in the fight. So we have the Nick's Esports car between the Project Dynamic Green car. Between these two, keeping them apart at the moment. 5 seconds is the gap, and 29 seconds for the Project Dynamic Green car to the leader. Still the fastest car on track at the moment for Project Dynamic Green, although Nick's Esports just banged in a 125.8, which actually eclipses that of the cars in first, second, and third.
Less than 2 hours left to go here for everyone tuning in. We appreciate you spending your time with us here on ABN Esports 1. It's the 10 hours of Hockenheim. Over 8 hours completed. Again, for those just now tuning in, I'm Carmen Sienna alongside me, sports car champion and multi-class expert Taylor Mills.
Bonjour.
With about an hour and 45 minutes left, I'm going to take at least one more refreshment break. Don't go anywhere. Non-stop coverage continues here. We know there's at least 2 more pit stops in this race to determine who's going to win in GTP, and GT3 Pro, and GT3M. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to the 8 hours of 10 hours of Hockenheim. We're already 8 hours in here. Obviously, long stream. Over 10 hours already into this stream so far. Welcome, everyone, back to Hockenheimring. The 10 hours, less than 2 hours remaining, almost down to the last 90 minutes of this race. And XPD Emerald Racing just set the best lap of the race. Pablo Alvarez.
What a time to come back.
What a time to come back. The pressure being on, it is 100% on. Alvarez setting the fast lap, a 1:24.20.
Yeah, Alvarez. Who's just hopped in the car in the last pit. Well, I'll say just hopped in the car 23 laps ago to take over from what's his face. Carmen
just took over. I don't remember who was in that car to begin with as well.
It's been a long day.
It's been a very long day. It's failing me, but
24.1, fastest lap of the race so far. XPD Emerald Racing dealing with a drive-through from the stewards for contact with the number 71, and then an automatically handed out iRacing penalty for contact with the spinning Ferrari GT3. Gap to the lead now down to 18 seconds for the XPD Emerald Racing car. Whereas the car in front only just set at 125.0 and is pretty stuck in the 125s at the moment. It'll be really interesting to see what Alvarez's pace looks like over the next few laps, to see how he brings that gap down. We've also got to remember, they're actually on a later stop than everyone else at the moment, so their final stop is going to be shorter than everyone else's, which is the absolute reverse as what it's been this entire race, because these guys have been stopping first, whereas Magic Arrow 55 have been the guys who have been stopping latest.
Gonna be a very interesting battle at the front. Last lap, still faster in favor of XPD Emerald Racing. Had a little bit of trouble during our break with Sergio Sanchez Catafero. Trying to see if we can figure out what that issue was with Catafero.
Well, Carmen, I can tell you we've had reports through from the stewards. The number 296 F Racing GT3 has a 30-second stop and hold for incident responsibility with the number 23 Go Esports car. So something tells me we've had a bit of contact between those two cars, and it's egregious enough that the stewards have decided to hand the GT3 a 30-second stop and hold penalty.
That is the 269 F Racing GT3. That was a car that was trying to get into the top 5 in GT3.
Yeah, they've been closing in slowly on the back of the Virtual Insanity Racing Porsche, who they aren't racing for position, but are for track position. So at this rate, that's going to completely destroy the lead they have over the car behind. Because it may be an entire lap, but a 30-second stop and hold, it's going to feel like an absolute age.
Trying to see if I can figure out what happened here in this battle. This happened about lap 309 to 310. Meanwhile, we do have an issue. It just popped up. Fran Vinal for Karuma Motorsport. This is third place in GT3 Pro. What has happened to the Porsche in third place?
Contact.
Oh, no.
Which car was that? Was that the number 7? Because they've dropped back a little bit from the car in front. I think it was. It was. That is not good timing for that. Alvaro Garcia has got a gap to bring down.
No, it is not. It was not the 7. It was in front of the 7.
Oh, it must have been their sister car then.
It was the blue.
Fine, conspiracy theory. Knock the GT3 out of the way, then the number 7 doesn't have to deal with it. For legal reasons, that was a joke. But yeah, once again, XPD Emerald are flying. Another 24.4 for them. 16 seconds is the gap to the leader, and they are really pulling away from the number 71 car. After all of the drama that they've caused and been involved in, Carmen, at this rate, the number 5 car could still win this race.
Absolutely, and there's still an outside chance that the 71 can still do this as well. Again, top 3 all within 27 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, all 3 cars having to deal with a little bit of traffic there, as you could tell by the lap times. 27.4 for the leader, absolutely getting held up a treat. 26.3 for P2, a little bit less to deal with than the leader. But 25.7 for the number 71. who had a pretty clean run last lap, but I don't think the pace is quite there for them at the moment, Carmen. I think they're struggling.
Now, right now we're trying to look back to see what happened here in this incident.
Oh, do we have it?
I believe we might.
Let's have a gander. I would ask, did they fall or were they pushed? But the steward's report tells us straight away what's gone on here.
This is the
I think it's the car in front of this one. It's one of these up here. Oh,
Wow.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, that's egregious.
I would love to know exactly what happened there. That is intentional wrecking if I ever did see it. Goodness me, Carmen. Almost synchronized turning around to the
that was
track.
Pablo Alfieri.
That's
in that
not
car.
a fantastic rejoin either. Could have waited a little bit longer there, but what a shame for the Go Esports GTP. They've been involved in a couple of incidents in the last hour or so. Think back to when there was that Ferrari that went wide coming into turn 12. Managed to collect them and another GT3.
Yeah, that's where that penalty came from there for the F Racing car.
Yeah, I don't think you can even argue that one. That's just blah.
Yeah.
If I'm reading this properly, Carmen, Project Dynamic Green are in front of XBD Emerald. How's that happened?
I don't believe that is the case. So it's because SPD Emerald has come down pit lane.
Is that for a pit stop?
I think so. Pablo Alvarez on pit lane at the moment. I'm going to double check to make sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's about right, because they did 6 laps before they served their penalty. And then 26 laps afterwards, so that is about 32 laps. Yep, that's completely on strategy.
So
Makes sense.
Comes in.
They have been going quick. They have been going quick. Light fuel, cold temps.
Which means everyone right now is on an easy one-stop strategy right now. It's just a matter of how much time they spend on that last stop right now.
Yeah, I think the team to watch now, though, is that Mass Devil's red car who have pitted. Carmen, I think they're going to have to do another stop anyway. I think everyone's on one stop to go. Unfortunately, the fuel-saving strategy hasn't worked out for them here. They haven't managed to save enough, because with an hour and 25 minutes to go, you're not getting a one stop to the end. But they are going to have a really short stop, but I still don't think it's going to be enough to get them a podium here. Although, Carmen, I am trying to figure out how long a 32-lap stint would be in terms of time. Because these folks are doing roughly 125 a lap, so that's 85 seconds, times by the 32 laps.
Now you do the math on that. We're going to follow along and sort of run to the field is where everyone's at right now. Magic Arrow 55 almost putting the XBD Emerald car a lap down. But again, pit stops are needed now.
It's 45 minutes, Carmen. It's 45 minutes. Everyone's on one stop.
Yeah, everyone that has not yet stopped right now is on a one-stop strategy.
Magic Arrow 55 are going just a little bit longer, so they're going to have a nice short... In fact, that means XBD Emerald have kind of eliminated their...
They've eliminated their advantage.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a shame for them, but... We'll see how it plays out, because as we've seen in the last stint or so, these guys have been absolutely rapid. So with how small that gap was, let's see if they're able to do something with it. Obviously with the cold tyres now, they're going to be losing some time to the Magic Arrow 55 car. But I'd expect them to come in the next couple of laps to try and take advantage of the overcut.
Magic Arrow 55. Leading the way, Balazs in charge of that car. Will he see the race out? Is an interesting question. Right now, of all the drivers in the top 10 in the GTP cars, he is the driver with the most tenure currently active on track.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're due another driver swap or they're just going to leave him in for the next stint. I think they're going to swap drivers in this stint. They've got to. I think he's been doing a fantastic job to maintain the gap. But I don't know if he's quick enough to maintain the lead from XPD Emerald at the moment. Speaking of another stewards report, there is a drive-through for the number 10 Mass Devil's blue car. Incident responsibility involving the number 289 Karuma Motorsports car. That car's P3 in GT3 Pro, 1 minute and 14 seconds behind the Carbono Esports car. Now, before we left for our break, Carbono Esports car picked up, Carbono Esports even, picked up a drive-through penalty for incident responsibility with one of the lapped down GT3 Pro cars, and it kind of brought the 289 Karuma Motorsport car back into the fray. However, I think a little bit of contact with the Mass Devil's blue car has kind of put them out of contention for that one. And the Mass Devil's blue car, I think, will lose that time that they pulled on Future Racing Team, because we got to watch them pull that gap down and make the overtake and pull away all before we left for the break. And now one silly mistake has ruined that for them, Carmen.
Yeah, the drive-through for that incident with the 289 has been issued for the Mass Devils blue team. So, and here comes the Magic Arrow 55 team. They've come in.
This is it. This is the pit stop for them. Second
And
to last of the race.
they've come in early.
No, this is on strategy. They'll cross the line. It'll flick over to 32, and that'll be it.
Yeah, but this is early compared to what they typically go.
They've been 32 laps the entire stint. It has only been the Mass Devils cars that have been going long, and that is a driver swap as well. Avon is back in the car.
That's an interesting call. But I mean, it was expected that Abner was going to finish the race for them, but he's not the fastest on that lineup.
It's in the most consistent though. It's going to be interesting to see.
They've got the wiggle room to play with that they can make that call.
I think so.
But
it was 17 seconds before the pit stops.
Casper's comes in.
Jinx.
And XPD Emerald, they are coming through the stadium section now. They will not take the lead here, but will they close the gap?
One car still. I'm keeping an eye on the one car at the moment. They are still there, rolling again and back on track. That is a huge gap they've got. Wow. Fair play to them. Let's hope they can get their tyres up to temperature then and maintain the gap. It's all going to come down to the new driver in the 55 car to get up to pace nice and quickly and get those tyres up to temp.
It was 16 seconds. It's now almost 22.
Wow. Again, a lot of that is going to be due to the cold tyres, so I expect some of that to disappear as we go on with the next couple of laps. But then after that, the race is on, Carmen.
Absolutely, race is on. That's where the fun part comes in. Project Dynamic Green leading pit lane now.
43 seconds behind the lead. They've lost time, Carmen.
They were 47, so they're actually getting a little bit of time.
They were within 30 at one point, though.
I mean, yeah, they've lost time compared to where they were at the start of like the stint when Casper's got in, but compared to like where they were before that pit stop, they've gained a few seconds.
It's going to be a mighty fine ask to ask them to do anything here, but
with a little bit, with so little time left to go, it feels like it. Yeah.
If the last couple of hours is anything to go by, XPD Emerald could be tricky. We'll see what happens. It is a different driver in that car now, though. So perhaps we are going to see a nice, clean, fair fight for the lead, rather than a little bit of desperation. Elsewhere in the GTP field, it is very, very spread out all the way down. No gap closer than 10 seconds anywhere. It's 21 between first and second, and 24, 34, 40. And then a massive minute and 10 seconds between Nix Esport and Mass Devils Blue. The reason that one is so big is because of the drive-through penalty that the 10 car managed to get not 10 minutes ago. So unfortunately, that's kind of ruined their fight with the Nix Esports car, and Future Racing Team are now on their tail. 16 seconds is the gap to them. In the GT3 field, pretty much the same story. We're looking at minute and a half, 30 seconds, 45 all the way down the field. We're very much waiting for the end of the pit stop cycle for the GT3s, but I don't think any of those gaps are going to get any closer anytime soon. We were gifted to some brilliant battles in the GT3 field earlier this race. We were lucky enough to watch as the 229 car came from seventh on track to pass the Pro-Am the GT3 Am Virtual Insanity Porsche, who was punching way above their weight. And then an excellent battle between them and the 220 AZR Motorsport BMW. It's been absolutely brilliant to watch all throughout this race, Carmen.
It absolutely has been. It's been pretty emphatic. Someone's always been fighting for something all race long. And we have a little over an hour left in this race.
Yeah, it's always wonderful to watch these cars fly around this track. A really special high downforce track that has changed a lot in the last 30 years or so. The current length of the Hockenheim circuit sits at a measly 4.5 kilometers or 2.8 miles. Compared to the original length of the circuit, which was a whopping 6.8 kilometer blast through the forest before they changed it in 2002. Hockenheimring was first opened all the way back in 1932 on its original layout, so without all those chicanes. But its current layout, what are we seeing?
Pit stop.
That's an extra
Caspers.
stop. That's a stop though. Did they forget to?
I don't know what's going on here for Caspers. Trying to figure out if I can look at it, but I'm not sure what's going on here.
Have they had an incident?
I don't know.
That's not long enough for damage repair.
And that's not a penalty.
That's just a pit stop.
That's
put them down into P4 now.
That's 25 seconds pit stop. If it's a stop and go, they'd be at least 30.
It looked like a bit of a splash and dash. Is this on strategy? I mean, everyone has to make one more stop anyway.
I don't know what's going on right now. This is very interesting for the 71 crew.
Yeah, it's kind of come out of nowhere. After these guys were on for such a Oh, Caspers is pulling off.
Oh, there's trouble. Huge trouble for the 71 crew.
Have we missed an incident? Have they had an incident on track?
I think this is a technical failure.
Oh, he's towed.
Yeah, he's towed. He's not the only one that's towed either. What has happened here to the 278, the negative delta by Bueller's machine?
Are we going to see an incident? Are we seeing an incident between these two?
I don't think these are connected. This is
going slow.
Very slow out of the corner.
Mr. Fuel Stop, maybe? Let me see. What, 278? No, they're in the middle of their stint. Perhaps another one of those hardware failures that we've seen.
That's what I'm thinking it was for Caspers. It might be a mechanical failure for the 71 going into the braking zone. Oh yeah, he just doesn't completely stop it.
No, I think that's him pulling it off the road. I think maybe he's had a bit of contact with a wall, perhaps on entrance to the stadium section. Has pitted to get it repaired, taken some fuel whilst he's been in there, and it's not straight, so he's parked it. If anyone has any information on that for us, we'd love to know what's gone on there. But that was what an awful last couple of hours for this team. Taken out of the hairpin by XPD Emerald, and then not being on the pace in the last hour or so to end in what might be a retirement. It does put Masked Devils Red back into the podium places, though. It's the miracle they were after. After they looked set to have a great result based on strategy, but then a bit of an incident on pit lane entry where they flipped the car, put them out of podium contention. But now they're back in it with a lap on the car behind. They just need to keep it clean for the rest of the race to bring home that podium, Carmen.
Absolutely. Right now they've got the gap and the space to do so. They've got a full lap advantage over Nick's Esports. So they're doing a phenomenal job right now. Aaron Avener, however, at the front of the field in GTP.
Pace is good, Carmen. It's exactly what they need in the closing stints of this race.
Matching the 5.
matching the second place car. This is the same car and the same driver that we saw bang out a 24-1 in the last stint, but he hasn't been able to match that so far this stint, perhaps because the car's heavy on fuel, maybe struggling with the track conditions, who knows. But 25-0, the pace is coming down, the gap's coming down as well, with an hour and 13 minutes on the clock.
17 seconds the gap between the race leaders at the moment in GTP. Everyone else in all the GT3 classes separated by at least a lap.
I think this is the race we're waiting to come to a head, because as I just said, they were struggling.
Yeah.
They are really bringing that gap down now.
Pulled it down by a second and a half that last lap. Alvarez on the charge.
Yeah, the number, where are they? I've lost them. In fact, there they are, because they've moved up the standings. So number 10, Mass Devil's blue car getting out of the way of Pablo Alvarez there, not wanting to hinder their assaults heading towards Magic Arrow 55. Because remember, Mass Devil's red is in 3rd place. So if the number 5 team catches the number 55 team and they start fighting really, really, really hard and anything happens, that puts Mass Devils into a really good position.
See where it ends up here. Right now, the gap's continuing to close.
25-5, it's another second, Carmen.
Yeah, 9/10 right there.
All that gap that the 55 had when they came out of the pits is very slowly starting to erode, because what was it, 20 plus seconds? Not six laps ago?
Yeah.
The first place team are having to deal with some traffic now as well. You've got a big old string of GTs in front of them that are holding them up coming through the Mercedes-Benz Arena, which is just up the road from what we're watching right now. Although Pablo isn't going to have the easiest time on this GT3, I can imagine he's had to lift coming through there. Touch wide through there, but manages to swing it back over to the braking zone. Nice little bit of traffic management from them. They've been really, really good through traffic so far this race, and an absolute pleasure to watch.
Been absolutely outstanding so far. Now less than 16.
Oh, it's starting to get tight.
It's getting very tight, and there's plenty of time left to keep reeling that gap in.
Yeah, I hope it takes a while though, because I don't want the overtake to be done with an hour to go, because then what are we going to talk about for the last hour?
Yeah, right now, Avener, we said it before, you pointed out, Avener's the most consistent driver on that team. Not the fastest in that 55 car, but the most consistent.
Pablo, that was wide, buddy.
Pablo is pushing it.
Yep. That's going to have been an off track as well. Look at the speed he's carried through turn 1 there. That is a man on a mission. Another second. That's 1.2 seconds gained on the car ahead last lap. At this rate, he's going to be on him by the halfway point of the stint, Carmen.
Pushing and pushing and pushing. The gap continuing to come down. 125.3 versus 126.5.
Crazy.
That's 1.2. Slice and dice through these GT3 cars. Trying
He's
to make
not
their way
having
forward.
a hard time of it. Although,
Yeah.
look at this. That's that same gaggle that the Magic Arrow 55 cars just had to go through. And it's in a similar spot as well. Potentially, that's where Magic Arrow lost the time last lap. So let's see if XBD Emerald can take advantage of the pace they've had through traffic and pull some off here. But that is a lot of cars. That is not what you want to see from the cockpit of the Cadillac, trust me. Going to nip around the outside of the first one. Careful not to get rear-ended by it. Carrying the speed through the corner, took it to the inside.
Immediately goes after it on the inside of that 318.
You're going to want to switch back to the... He's not going for it there. That's interesting.
He's going to
but
go
he will
here.
go for it in the final corner. Not losing too much time either, to be fair. Gap's only opened back up to 16 seconds or so. Pretty well managed, all things considered.
Only lost a second. And now there's one car left, and that car's going to be gotten in that next straightaway.
Indeed. Not even difficult. Pretty easy for Alvarez. You can tell he's done this before.
If you're Avener, you're sweating now.
Not quite yet. Still a 15-second gap. There's a lot that can happen between now and the end of the race.
I don't know. You just lost 4 seconds to lap traffic. That's a lot.
Yep. But that's racing equally. Alvarez could have. I mean, he's not had a tough time through traffic yet, but there's still plenty more rounds through traffic to go where he could lose that time again.
That's where you start having to rely on luck, and that's where you start getting nervous though, because especially with Avener, you know you can't match it. Like,
No,
you know you've got to rely on help, and that's something you just can't rely on right now. In these situations, that's so rough.
But that's the thing, it's a multi-class endurance race at the end of the day. If Avener doesn't have the outright pace, that doesn't mean he's not going to have some good luck and some pace through traffic here. I'm remaining optimistic.
Yeah, Avener needs help. It's not impossible by any means. Definitely not saying it's impossible. But right now, Avener is going to have to he's going to put on a defensive masterclass. And I don't think we've not had to see this from Avener. Avener's not been in this position to need this before.
I do think he had to defend from Pablo earlier on in this race and did a pretty decent job of it.
Quite the same, though.
No, it's not the final stint for the win. I don't know if this will come down to the final stint, but 24.9 versus 26.7 is...
There's going to be a pit stop before they get to each other. I think we get to the final pit stop before they get to each other right now. It's going to be close.
Ooh, I hope so.
Now, I think Avener's got enough of a gap right now that unless he loses another 4 seconds to a gaggle of GT3 cars, if he loses another 4 seconds like what he's already done so far, then you have some question marks. Right now, as it sits, if he can just kind of hold stationary right now and hemorrhage about a half a second or whatever, we'll get to another pit stop cycle.
For Avener's sake, he has got a shorter stop at the end of this race by about 4 laps of fuel by the look of things. So fingers crossed, that'll really help him out in the stops and just, give him a couple more seconds if they need it. And that's what it could come down to at the end of the day here.
Yeah, those seconds are pretty important.
Just another half a second last lap as well. 25.7 compared to a 24.9. It's a bit over half a second. Just waiting for the next lap times to come in now. So it was a 25.7 last lap for Magic Arrow number 55. And through comes XBD Emerald for a 24.8. That's another second, Carmen. Gap's 13 now.
Yeah, it's the pressure is on. Firmly it is on.
Are you feeling it?
Racing.
Are you feeling the pressure? I'm feeling the pressure, and I'm not even in the car.
You gotta be nervous for Avener. Team looking for its first win all season.
Yeah, they've done so well to hold on for even this long. Super impressive driving from them, because what they've done is they've gone and kept it super duper clean all race, and it's just put them in this position after the two cars that were in front of them have kind of tripped over each other, and it's genuinely put them in a really, really good place to have a shot at taking this win. I think maybe towards the end of the race they're going to be kicking themselves for that drive through earlier, because that could make the difference. But you know what? I can't complain too much, because it's going to make the end of this race super exciting.
Going into this race, Mass Devils Blue had the points lead by 1 over Project Dynamic Green. Magic Arrow 55 were third. If they can possibly take this race win while Project Dynamic Green retired and Mass Devils Blue is in 5th position, how big of a points gap it'll be going into the next round at Magny-Cours. That is a huge swing in favor of Magic Arrow in their pursuit for a championship for the first time.
Yeah, because we have unfortunately now lost the 71 car of Project Dynamic Green. What a brilliantly ran race from them, to be fair. You can't fault them.
Yeah.
Just picking up that, what we assume was damage from the contact with the XBD Emerald Racing car, and then not being able to really recover it. And then a possible hardware failure. It's just poor luck. It's just one of them racing deals, unfortunately, and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, that's what Magic Arrow is looking at right now. They're looking at a potential gap-widening advantage in the championship with 2 races left after this, if they can hold on to this. XBD Emerald Racing, a win here would really catapult them into the conversation. Reminder that for these longer races, there is a larger points balance. weighted for these races. So there's more points for this race than what there is for like Interlagos or Mandicore. So a win here really can just an offset how if you had a bad race.
Speaking of the championship leaders, do bring some bad news from the stewards room. The number 10 Mass Devils blue car has been handed a 30-second stop and go
for the third
drive-through for their incident with the number 359 Virtual Insanity racing car. Really such a shame to see VIR caught up in another incident. They've ran such a clean race so far, but in the last hour or so, things have just kind of got a little bit scruffy. They're fortunate in that they've managed to pull a 3-lap lead on the closest car in their class, so they can kind of afford these sorts of mistakes. But the one thing you don't want them doing is picking up enough damage to really cost them some time in the pits, and even some time on track if they can't get it repaired.
Now, the fortunate thing with Virtual Insanity Racing is that the Carbano Esports, it was their next competition. They're in that conversation, and they are out, so they will not score points. Halbsod Motorsport, not sure if they're still, I don't think they're still running. That's the 327. We'll have to double check on that. I believe they're out, so they don't score points. They were third in points. ACR Motorsport White would be next, and they're third right now. So a really good gap right now for Virtual Insanity Racing if they can just hold on for this next hour and change, hour and about 2 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, still a long way to go here. Back in the day, during the 6-hour races in the P1s and the GTPs before the dissolution, well, no, not even the dissolution of the of ESS, we always used to say, as we got across the hour mark, one ESS race to go, one ILMS race to go, as we got to the last hour of any race. Just kind of helps you keep that focus, keep your eyes on the road ahead, and realize just how little time there is to go.
Coming to the 1 hour mark here. It's a wild, wild event. Still watching this battle. This battle for the lead in GTP is closing, and this is the main battle we're following. If you're looking at the battle board on the left side of your screen, you'll see the GT3 is pretty well settled as things go without bad luck hitting the leaders. Euromaster Esports leading by over a lap. Virtual Insanity Racing leading GT3M by over 3 laps. They can take it easy. Who can't take it easy right now is the driver center of your screen, Pablo Alvarez, who has closed the gap down from 22 seconds to less than 12. Aaron Avener, the race leader, looking for a championship lead with 2 races to go after tonight. Next race, Mandicore, November 18th. And then the finale at the Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium on December 9th.
Yes, indeed, Carmen. The pace of that number 5 car again, absolutely blowing the 55 car out of the water, especially in traffic. Alvarez's aggression just really saving them time as they're cutting and chopping through all those GT3s. Avener just not having the best time of it. Getting a little bit lucky there with the AZR Motorsport BMW. But he knows that number 5 car is coming, and he's just got to hold on and hope for the best here.
He's doing everything he can right now. That gap is almost down to 10 seconds. Pablo Alvarez getting closer and closer down the front straightaway. Lap difference last time through, 0.4. The gap, the margin is shrinking a little bit. To Avener's credit, the gap, the margin of loss is shrinking. You know, we're not talking about losing 1.2 seconds, 1.4 seconds, 9/10 of a second.
Just 4/10 last lap.
Yeah,
it's looking a lot better for him.
Just 4/10 right now. That's a lot better right now. If he can hold on to this and get to this next set of pit stops. Next set of pit stops here should be, we're on lap 353 right now. Looking at this as everything rolls at the moment. Next pit stop should be with less than 45 minutes to go. Next pit stop should really be about 40 minutes to go in this race.
And so, Carmen, we have dipped under 60 minutes to go. We're going to have a stint and a little bit left here to go. So let's take a quick rundown of our class leaders. As it stands, the number 55 Magic Arrow Cadillac leads the way in GTP and overall. They have ran a fantastic race so far. They've kept it relatively clean with only one drive-through applied by race control and have managed to completely stay out of incidents. They qualified third, but find themselves now in the lead with less than an hour to go. In GT3 Pro, you have the Euromaster Esports Porsche, who have led the way from the start. They stuck it on pole today, and they never looked back. Even after the red flag, they've maintained chipping away. They've maintained just gaining more and gaining more on all the cars behind them. The consistency between their drivers and just in the drivers of themselves have allowed them to just extend the gap every single stint. And they've drove an absolutely fantastic race. And in GT3 AM, as mentioned before, the absolutely unstoppable Virtual Insanity Racing. 3 laps ahead of their nearest competitor in class, Dyson up as high as P4 in GT3 overall, having brilliant on-track battles with the likes of Really Slow Motion Racing and AZR Motorsport. There's not a lot that can go wrong to stop these guys from winning in class today, Carmen.
Yeah, you need an act from a higher power at this point to kind of stop Lemmy Michigan Company from winning GT3 AM. They've done a phenomenal job so far in this race. As Mass Doubles Blue come in to serve that drive-through. Actually, no stop-and-go penalty for that third drive-through.
It is.
So here they go.
That's gonna completely ruin their chance at the top 5 here. Their race has really fallen apart in the last hour or so. They've managed to pick up, in the space of less than an hour, 2 drive-through penalties. One for an incident with the number 71 Project Dynamic green car, and another for an incident with a GT3. Perhaps that's what caused the 71's retirement. Perhaps a bit of damage from the incident with that car.
Yeah, here's Cohen Garrett, who will inherit 6th position in the Magic Arrow 56. Sort of playing rear gunner in this race compared to the current race leading team. Sister car there. Cohen Garrett will move to 6th place here. Mass Doubles Blue will not drop much further than 7th though. Still a massive advantage over the Go Esports team in 8th place at the moment.
I'll tell you what, a little bit of credit to Aaron Avena in the number 55 Magic Arrow car at the moment. He's done a really, really good job of just maintaining the gap in the last couple of laps. He's got to pick through all this traffic at the moment, which is obviously going to slow him down a little bit more. But before that, he kept the gap at a good 10 seconds for a surprisingly long time. And you've got to remember that the XPD Emerald Racing car has to pick its way through the same traffic. And with that 10-second gap, they're going to be coming up on these GT3s in an equally as tricky position. This race has still got a lot to offer us, Carmen.
So in all, it's going to be very front heavy here with 55 minutes to go.
I can't believe it. After 9 hours of racing, it's all coming down to the final stint.
This is what every sports car fan, what every sports car driver hopes for. After so much racing, so much time period, it's still coming down to the very last hour, the very last, really almost less than an hour. You could almost say last half an hour with how things are really playing out here.
Yeah, you've got to give the credit to the drivers. You've got to give the credit to the drivers. They've absolutely thrown everything they can at this race today, and it's given us quite a show. just watching all these cars dip and dive and dodge and duck and dive and dodge around each other has been an absolute thrill ride, and I'm so excited to see how the rest of this race unfolds.
Aaron Averner leads the way, and the gaps open up a little bit, back over 10 seconds, and that's why you see the traffic that Pablo Alvarez has been stuck into. Lost a second there, but now he's got some clean air again, entering turn 2.
There's really not much you can do in that final sector to get around GTs. You have to be super duper aggressive, which Pablo Alvarez and his teammates have been all race, which is why they've been so exciting to watch. You do got to be careful. You don't want to be making contact with those cars, bopping them off the road and getting themselves another drive-through penalty. They've already had a couple today, and one this late in the race is really going to cost them. It's super important for everyone inside the top 2 to keep their heads on straight right now.
Been absolutely fantastic stuff so far. These top 2 cars right now still running have not had it easy by any stretch of the imagination. There's always been something with these 2. Trouble with one of the cars further down the order. What's happened here? Gerard Sedani Jr. for Carbano Esports. This is second in GT3 Pro. This is approaching. Oh,
that's a new one. Yeah, I've never seen that one before.
That's a very odd place to have that car lose the back end at, especially for a BMW like that. That's before the stadium section.
Carmen,
no, that's in the stadium section. That was in the stadium section. That was after the hairpin, and that was on the way to the lane. Did you see that
slide as well? The car just did not stop even.
Very interesting. That was after the hairpin. I thought that was before they got to the hairpin. That was right afterwards.
The drama just doesn't stop. There's always something going on in this race. I hear some pit lane beeping. Is that one of the GT3s just come in? Yes, it is. It's P17 in class. So that's going to be one of the final stops in the GT3 field. Carbano Esports, of course, just having that spin have come in for their final stop as well. We are very much inside the GT3 pit window and did with about an hour to go. So definitely expect to hear a lot more beeping from the track.
Nine seconds the gap at the front of the field.
It's coming down again. Are they in clean air again? Yeah, that'll be doing it. Yeah, they're completely on their own now. They've not got GT3s for another good 5 or 6 seconds of track space. So now it's literally just driver pace against driver pace. This is what I was talking about before, though. The consistency of the driver of the 55 car has just been absolutely insane all race, and they've really taken advantage of it in the final few minutes of this race here. Especially with the fact they're going to be taking a shorter stop at the end of the race. So even though the gap's now down below 9 seconds, you could very much expect a couple of seconds expansion after the pit stops. We've seen that the overcut has really worked for this team before, and they're going to be able to make it work again, as well as having a shorter refuel window at the end of this race, Carmen.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the last pit stop, I think. That'll be very crucial for the 55 crew, especially to hit that correctly with that 4-lap overcut.
Can definitely be worth a lot of time in the pit lane. Quick look again at the GT3 field. Not really much going on there anymore. Those gaps have really expanded throughout the course of this race. However, we do have a 4.2 second gap between the F Racing GT3 Ferrari and the negative Delta car. However, the negative Delta car does owe us a pit stop at this point. So that's as close as the GT3 field is at the moment, I'm afraid. $8 seconds the gap at the front between Averner
and Alvarez. Pablo Alvarez approaching turn 5. Just a little bit of work to go. That gap continues to close in.
You know what, Carmen? I've got to give a shout out to the drivers of the number 11 Carbano Esports Black Acura. They are 19 laps down on the entire field, and they're still going. They haven't stopped. They haven't given up. And you know what? It's actually paid off for them. The amount of cars that have retired in the last hours or so has got themselves solidly inside the top 10. They can't be beaten by any car that has retired at this point. And of course, it does mean they'll score points because they will take the, well, at this rate, they will take the checkered flag. And another GT3 pits. That is the number 220 AZR Motorsports car, who the lap before they pitted set their personal best fastest lap of the race. And this will be their final stop as well. It's quite a late one, but there are guys that are going to be stopping later for what I can only assume is going to be a much shorter stint. But I think it is safe to say the GTP pit window is now open. It's going to be a stretch. You're going to have to do some fuel saving, but you can absolutely get to the end from here, especially if you're masked Devils Red, who have been doing 37 lap stints for the entirety of this race. However, if they stop later, they're going to be able to push to the end. And then if anything happens between the two leaders, that puts them in a really, really good position from the checkered flag. 6.5 seconds now is the gap between P1 and P2, and closing. Bit of traffic going to get involved in this fight now, though, with the leader coming up on a couple of GT3s. P2 has just cleared a few of them. But yeah, this is going to get really close, Carmen. And I think even now, it's still going to end up after the final round of pit stops.
Yeah, we are beginning to run low on time, approaching the last 45 minutes of this race. Niels Core has had a crash. This is further down the order. This is the 242, the Chicaneland Racing Team.
I know that name. What did you do? What did you do, Niels?
Oh, this is out of the last corner. Grabbed a little bit too much curbing on the exit, on the entry, I should say, the last corner.
Yeah, I think they call that a certified Porsche moment. Just once the car starts penduluming, that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. Very unfortunate for them, but doesn't affect their race too much. They are very much on their own. 30 seconds to the car ahead, 1 lap to the car behind.
This has been a very interesting race, turning out to be a very intense battle at the very end. 6 seconds the gap is what we're looking at right now between Alvarez and the race leader, Aaron Avener.
Yeah, all of the GTPs currently running as well, hilariously, have all been given a drive-through penalty. But I think it's a lot to be said about just the nature of the track. With its super-duper short length and very short lap time, oh, that's not going to help Avener at all. And it's very short lap time. You're going to find that a field of 40-odd cars, even if it's dropped down to 30, is going to get really packed up the entire way around. Because each car's only got about 160 meters of space on track, which isn't anything in the grand scheme of things. And it kind of shows why it's been such a race of attrition, because when we had the full grid of 41 cars, I believe it was.
I believe.
Yeah, so even when we had the full grid of 41 cars, that was even less. It was 120 meters. Wow. So, God, yeah, then we're looking at 109 meters of track per car, which is barely anything. I think there's less tight margins at Monaco. And that's about it. But yeah, that's sort of so little track per car is going to cause incidents because you need to be aggressive and you need to muscle your way through the GT3s if you're a GTP driver. And obviously that's going to result in miscommunications and incidents, and it's why we've seen so many drive-throughs this race. Oh, 25-0 from the P2 car that time round. Look at this traffic as well.
There's a lot of traffic right now going on.
A lot of traffic.
Gap is down less than 5 seconds as Avner tries to find a way through, and it's going to be a lot easier for the 5 of Alvarez.
I think the Alvarez is going to get checked up a little bit into the hairpin here. As we've been saying, it's been a cause for difficulty the entire race. There's GTPs up in this as well. So can he clear them nice and cleanly, or is he going to get held up? He's going to get held up, Carmen.
Last looks like a bit of for the 7.
I think that's about as clean as you could get that. Gap now just over 4 seconds, but lots of traffic to contend with here. And the leader's going to have a relatively clear run. Oh, Carmen, look at all those GTs.
It's working out a treat for Avner.
Big checkup. Big checkup. Yeah, that's really going to help Avner. If he can maintain this 5-second gap, he's going to come out the pit lane with at least 8 seconds under his arm. We are expecting a pit stop, though, from XPD Emerald Racing very soon. This is their 31st lap of the stint. Whereas Magic Arrow still have a good few laps to go. Sadly, no help from the sister car, who is a whole 4 laps down on them. The only way they're going to be able to help is if they can get onto the back of them in these closing stints, in which case I don't think the 56 car is going to make it easy for the number 5 car to get by. Absolutely not. You got to work with the team car there and make sure that one of those cars come home with a race win if this opportunity presents itself. Master Esports has come down pit lane, the race leader in GT3 Pro. That'll be their final stop. Relatively short one here, because it's only going to be a 40-minute stint or so for them, depending on how long they're stationary for here. It's very long at all, especially when you're doing 1 minute 40 lap times. Pretty easily settled there in the GT3 Pro category. But again, all eyes are focused on GTP. The overall race lead hangs in the balance with 1 pit stop remaining. Yeah, we're expecting both of them in within 6 laps time or so. I wouldn't be surprised if XPD blink and then Magic Arrow do too. Just keeping an eye on all the traffic in front of them and hoping they can get the cleanest in and out lap that they can. This is all about thinking 4 laps ahead at this point, Carmen, and making sure you pit at the best time. And that all relies on making sure you pit in, and you're able to get out of pit lane and clean air and maximize that opportunity. Yeah, we've seen in this race so far that Magic Arrow have been able to very much take advantage of the overcut, keeping their tires up to temperature and building a gap as XPD Emerald have been getting their tires warm. And the impressive thing is, Magic Arrow have managed to not lose so much time when they're on their out laps trying to get their tires up to temp. They've been nailing the first couple of laps of each stint as the gap now closes to 3 seconds, Carmen. Yeah, the gap's coming down, but pit stops are coming, and it's going to put a halt to things for a moment. If you're XPD Emerald, what's your call? Are you trying to get on the back of Magic Arrow and then pit, or are you trying to get past them before you pit? Bearing in mind, this could be their in-lap here. Honestly, I would just kind of stick to the schedule at this point. You're pretty well set and ready to go across these next 40 minutes. I wouldn't do anything unnatural at this point. You see that that's the gap. You saw the 55 right there on the inside of your screen as they went into the stadium section. I'm not going to lie to you, Carmen. If I'm the 55, I'm pitting now. There's 3, 4, 5 GTs in front of me that I'm going to come across if I stay out here. It is well worth pitting first and trying to match the car behind you. Alvarez comes in. No, they've stayed out. Stays out. Right, this is it. This is where it gets interesting. So I'm counting in front of the leader on track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars that he's going to come across on his way into the pit lane. He's going to get held up straight away by one of them. And second one he's going to meet in the final sector. This ain't going to be the easiest way to the win for him, but we'll see if he can make it work.
I think if you're Avener, you're kind of stuck in this position of having to rely on that shorter pit stop. I think you have to rely on it at this point.
I see lots of GT3 traffic coming through the final sector now that I think XPD Emerald are going to get caught up in. They're only just rolling now. No, they're not even rolling yet, and there's 4 cars coming through.
Yeah, it's going to help.
Yeah, 4 cars have just come through on them that they're going to meet in the time that it's going to take the leader to come around into the pit lane.
Here is they've done a driver change.
They've put Blasco in. Interesting.
They've put Alberto Garcia Blasco back into that car for the final stanza of this race. That's going to be very interesting. Blasco got to get up the temperature now. I
don't know if he set the fastest lap time of his car, did he?
No, Alvarez did.
Alvarez did, yeah. That's an interesting call.
Here comes Avener.
Avener's in. I'm not sure about that call. I think he should have stayed out another lap. There was a good bit of clean air in front of him there.
I think the driver change is what swayed that opinion over.
Maybe. Are they going to change?
I don't know.
Have they changed?
It's a very big question. They have. Thomas is in.
Thomas is in.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go. Oh, this is going to get exciting.
And that is their fastest driver.
That is their fastest driver. I think this is going to give them the best chance of winning.
Oh my goodness.
So, and they've got the shorter stop now. I think they're going to get rolling before these GT3 cars just coming into the final sector now even get anywhere near them.
Oh my goodness. Thomas is in to finish this race. So is Alberto Garcia Blasco.
Come on, get rolling.
Oh
get
my
rolling.
goodness.
Let's go. How exciting. Yeah, the second place car is stuck. He's gone.
4 seconds shorter. Gap. 4 seconds shorter.
That's doubled the gap that he had over XPD Emerald before. But now it's just a matter of getting those tires up to temperature
so bad.
And getting on with it. 37 minutes left on the clock.
Oh my
This is going to come down to the wire, Carmen.
Garcia's got fresh tires and they're heated up.
5 seconds is the gap. Wow, the time that Blasco managed to claw back as the number 55 car was going through traffic. They would have been side by side if Magic Arrow were taking a longer stop.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you can play it either way right now. Magic Arrow made sure that they had the race lead in hand when they made that pit stop.
They did.
You can argue that they could have probably waited a couple more laps. I think looking at that driver swap and knowing you had Thomas in the hand, that is a huge deal right now. It is game on at the front of this field for the race win.
Indeed it is. Oh, what an interesting bit of strategy it comes down to. The gap is closing between the two cars as the number 55 car tries to get its tires up to temperature. It's going to struggle, but once the 55 car's tires are up to temperature, I think Tamas is going to fly if he's nice and warmed up. Yeah, the gap opens to 5.5. Alberto Garcia Blasco catching a bit of GT3 traffic in the opening part of this lap. Tamas getting a relatively clean opening to the lap, coming up behind a GT3 through turn 4 and 5. He's going to clear him before the hairpin though. Then it's all about what he can do in clean air now. The gap opens up a little bit more. That's mostly due to the number 5 car getting held up behind those GTs. That might be the lifeline that Magic Arrow 55 needed to take this race win. Further down the field though, GT3, the 264 Euromaster Esports car still leads GT3 Pro by a lap from the number 211 Carbono Esports JD Army BMW. That is a really long name. And the number 359 Virtual Insanity Racing Porsche still leads GT3 AM by a whole 3 laps. Insane races from both of them so far. Now they just need to bring it home. Still due a stop from the GT AM race leader though.
Keeping an eye on this battle for the race lead. It's stabilized at 5.2 seconds. But that is an eternity, and so are the remaining 35 minutes in this race.
I'm still very intrigued by the fact that the number 5 changed drivers. I think I would have left Alvarez in for this final stint. He was warm and fast, whereas now they've put a driver in who's
if he was
not car.
fatigued. I wonder if fatigue was beginning to set in a little bit because he was pushing the entire time.
Yeah, perhaps if it was his call, then fair enough. But if this was the team strategy and it was always going to be the case, I don't know.
I feel like with how much they were gaining, I feel like fatigue had to have sat in a little bit.
And man was pushing. He was pushing so hard for 2 stints there.
Absolutely. For over an hour, he was just non-stop.
And that's why I love endurance racing. Is that's what it literally comes down to, is the endurance of the individual driver at times. And it makes all the difference. 25.3 for your race leader last lap, and a 25.9 for the chasing number 5 XBD Emerald racing car. They're tossing it back and forth at the moment. I don't think we could have asked for a better finish to this race, Carmen.
Yeah, this has been absolutely insane stuff. You can't ask for a better scenario to set the finish of this race.
That's going to be an aggressive... He's not gone for it. That's going to cost him. Look at that gap. Shooting up over 6 tenths. Oh, shooting over 6 seconds just because he didn't go for that move on the GT. But at this point, you've got to be thinking about self-preservation. You can't be going for silly moves, but you also can't be losing time behind the GTs.
Yeah, there's no more pit stops in this race. You are go, 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 go.
It is literally who can get to the end of this race fastest now. The clock ticks down very slowly as we approach 30 minutes to go. My name's Taylor Mills. I'm here in the ABN broadcast booth with ABN lead commentator Carmen Sienna, who has done an absolutely fantastic job bringing you the first half of this race completely solo. And what a pleasure it has been to join her for the last half of this race.
It's been a wild race, and it's only going to get wilder as we finish these final 31 minutes here
Honestly,
in Hockenheim.
Carmen, it's going to be the longest 31 minutes of this entire race. I wouldn't say I'm on the edge of my seat because I'm not exactly sat on it, but I am fully leaning into this one. I can see my own reflection in my monitor, and it's got a glare-proof screen on it.
This is intense. This is peak intensity right now for a 10-hour race where there's so many points on the line, so many championship possibilities coming to play here with 2 races to go after this. XBA Emerald Racing, they need this race win to put themselves in that conversation with 2 races to go. Magic Arrow 55, a race win would cement themselves as favorites going through these last 2 races.
As Nix Esports come in for their final stop from P4, chance they're going to lose P4 to Future Racing Team. But really, the fight for P4 is the story of what could have been for Mass Devils Blue, who in the last hour and a half of the race, decided to pick up 2 drive-through penalties for incident responsibility. One of them being a full 30-second stop and hold. What a different race it could have been for the Mass Devils, for both Mass Devils cars. A 3 and a 4 and possibly a race win for Mass Devils Red had they not had that incident on pit lane entry. So whilst we're flapping over how tight the fight is for the win, you've got to think about what could have been.
Could have been a lot tighter. Nix Esports comes out and secures 4th place on their last pit stop there. So good job so far by them. Alberto Garcia Blasco. The gap beginning to open up more and more. 7 seconds now the gap. Thomas now with a 1:24.81 for the last lap.
He's flying. He is absolutely flying. You can see why they put him in the car last. It's what we expected, and you know what? I think it's going to come good for them at this rate. The only way this goes wrong, don't want to jinx it, is a bit of an intervention from some traffic. We do have a lot of traffic still on track, but there's not going to be too many passes left through them at the moment with less than half an hour to go.
Absolutely. 6.9 seconds the gap. Garcia
Nice.
Blasco trying to reel it back in a little bit now.
Yeah, he's just had a little bit better luck with those bits of GT traffic. I don't know. I don't think Blasco's going to have, you know, really warmed up properly to take advantage of how good his car's been all race. It might become the undoing of the team. Gap opens up to 7.5 seconds now, which means Tamas has nearly doubled the gap that he came out the pits with at this point, and is in a big bunch of clean air right now, all the way through the first sector.
Well, now so is Garcia Blasco too.
I don't think our leader's going to have a nice time with the next bit of GTs. We've got 3 practically nose to tail in the Spitzka hairpin at the moment. Nothing for position though. GT3 fight very much settled down.
Yeah, everyone at this point in GT3 thinking about points and solidifying their position and moving on to Magny-Cours in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, definitely a case of bring it home.
Right now, Norbert Thomas leads the way for Magic Arrow in the 55 car. Looking to become champions for the first time.
Yeah, Magic Arrow 55 having finished on the podium in the first race of the season. Now going to be able to go 1 or 2 better, hopefully for them at this rate. Gap 7 seconds, closing a little bit, perhaps a tricky time. Going to have to check up a bit behind this GT3 as well, which is going to bring that gap back down below 7 seconds. It's the ebb and flow, Carmen. It's the ebb and flow. It's happening.
Yeah, and SPD Emerald Racing just at a 124.5.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a
So
big
there's your
lap.
response right there. That 124.5 is almost equal to the best lap that 55 car has set all race.
It is. Did I accidentally jinx it for the 55 car? Did I do it on purpose to make the final few laps of the race interesting? We'll never know. Truly testing the extent of the commentator's
We're
curse
gonna
today.
find out if it worked or not. Gap is
Yeah,
down to
truly.
6 seconds.
Under 6 seconds. That little bit of a checkup through the hairpin for Norbert Tamas has cost him the 6-second lead that he had, as it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter as the seconds tick down. A big old group of GT3s in front of him. Once again, he's going to have to deal with these all the way through the stadium section, Carmen. It's not going to be nice.
It absolutely won't be, but it also will not be super nice for that 5 car when he gets to him as well. Already back, you talk about the ebb and flow, already back to above 7 seconds with traffic now intervening.
Yeah, look at the traffic though through these final 2 corners. He's not even going to get a clean run through either of these. Fires himself back out onto the straight, running it nice and wide on corner exit though. Excellent run on that Ferrari. Plenty of time to get back across and get on the optimal line for turn 1. It reopens the gap though to 8 seconds. P2 is going to get stuck again.
This is the easier place to get stuck in though, compared to the last part of the lap.
Oh, he's brave going around the outside there. All it takes is one GT3 not to notice you and continue on the racing line, bop you off the road into the grass, and then it's race over. .5 seconds is the gap now. A little bit of checking up from our race leader. Coming onto the back straight there. Just brought that gap back down from 8 seconds. And we've seen the XPD Emerald Racing car pump in a very, very fast 24.5 a couple of laps ago. If they can keep repeating that sort of pace, as the Magic Arrow 55 car gets checked up behind another GT3, it's going to keep the race nice and tight with under 25 minutes on the clock. I'll tell you what though, he's not having a good, Blasco's not having a good time of it at the moment. He's really not. This GT3 field are not treating him kindly at all. Although, saying that, once again, our leader is going to get stuck behind some GTs down into turn 1. But it's going to be the same case for P2. They're very much getting the same traffic at the moment. We just need some open track to see if we can make this interesting again towards the end. I mean, it already is. The ebb and flow is keeping this exciting. I'm back stood up now because I've just got so much energy waiting for this race to come to a head.
Nick's Esports just set their fastest lap of the race, a 124.29 for them.
Wow.
Almost fastest lap of this race.
Considering the fastest lap of the race is a 124.199, that's about as fast as any other car is going to go today, I think. Although perhaps I speak too soon and one of these guys is going to pull a 124 dead out of their derrieres.
We're going to
7 seconds again is the gap. 7 seconds once again. It just keeps getting closer.
And now it's getting further apart.
As a great scholar once said, and it's getting closer together. And it's getting closer together. And it's getting closer together. Yeah. Except now that it's getting further apart.
Yeah, it's getting further apart now. Over 8 seconds. The gap now 8.1. With the advantage in the favor of Magic 55 and Norbert Thomas. But you see, Thomas had to get out of the gas and get around that car.
Going to come down again. Blasco's going to have a really clean run through the first sector as well. Might get checked up into turn... No, he's going to be clear of these cars into turn 2 and get past them on the straight as well. Whereas Thomas is going to have to check up ever so slightly into the hairpin, I reckon. A little bit of offline braking is going to cost him a few tenths here. Got back up to 8 seconds, but it looks like the number 5 car is going to have to deal with exactly the same traffic coming into the hairpin here, if not a little bit worse. There's that offline braking for Tamas I was talking about, but that Ferrari on the outside is very kindly giving him the race in line. The question is, are the cars in front of the number 5 going to do the same? No, they have not. He's had to check up massively behind those 2 cars into the hairpin. All this is doing is solidifying the gap that the Magic Arrow 55 car is, as we just kind of wait for this to explode.
It feels like one of those situations where something's going to go wrong for somebody. We just don't know when and where.
It's keeping the tension high. That was very wide through turn 11 for the number 55 car there. You could see the sparks explode from the back of the car as the skid plate scraped along that curb. That could have been it, Carmen. That could have been the drama. 9.2 seconds is the gap.
Yeah, that gap's beginning to open up. Almost 10 seconds now, the gap in favor of the Magic 55 camp.
Wow. Look, the confidence Tamas has in that car at the moment. He's just throwing that car into turn 1 and he knows it's going to stick. Very, very impressive from this driver right now. Very competitive 124.6 from our leader last lap as well. Considering the car in P4 just set a 124.2, you can't really blame him for that sort of pace. It's certainly plenty to keep him ahead of the P2 car at the moment, whose last lap was a 26.4. Traffic really not being kind to him at the moment. I think the 5 car is finally getting their poor look of it. We've been watching all the traffic go the 5's way for the last hour or so, and it's finally taken a really sudden shift in the opposite direction in the dying minutes of this race.
Yeah, it's insane how much everything has changed on the top of a dime. That impromptu driver change at the very end was so crucial.
It's worked. It's worked. 25.0 for our leader that lap. And a 25.8. 25.8 for the car behind. The gap has opened up to 11 seconds now, Carmen.
If you'd have told me 25.9.
If you'd have told me 3 hours ago that this race had come down to a 10-second gap after the end of 10 hours, I wouldn't have believed you. But the fact that we're getting to witness this now is just truly exciting.
It's been an incredible race so far, and again, with less than 20 minutes left to go.
I'll tell you what though, some of these drivers must be kicking themselves, because even for XBD Emerald, it's going to be a case of what could have been. Those two really silly drive-throughs that they got with a few hours to go, one from the stewards, one from iRacing, have really cost them here. If they had neither of them, how different could this race have looked towards the end here? They'd be a good 10-20 seconds up the road. Good chunk of clean air in front of both of these cars now. Tamas is only going to have one bit of GT to deal with through here, and then maybe one towards the end of the lap. So this could be a really fast lap from our race leader here. If he manages to get another 24 in the books, I think that's going to seal it for us today, Carmen.
We'll see what happens here. Down into turn 5 for Norbert Thomas. You look around in this field, GT3 settled by over a lap. Euromaster Esports from pole position will claim a victory if things hold. Meanwhile, Virtual Insanity Racing have 4 laps in hand now over SR Technic.
Yeah, super impressive driving from Euromaster Esports all race. Kept it clean the entire time, and it was that late race drive-through penalty that cost Carbono being on the lead lap. So their pace has been really good this race too, like setting almost identical lap times last time by, but it just has been absolutely no answer for the consistency of the Euromaster Esports car. Just one of those races where the top two in a class, neither of them have done anything wrong, but because neither of them have done anything wrong, it's just been the natural race pace of both of them that's set them in their positions. A little bit of traffic for our race leader again here. It's going to hold him up a little bit inside turn 2. I don't think it's going to cost him too much in the grand scheme of things. Gap comes back down to 11 seconds. There's going to be a little bit more traffic to deal with here, but it's lots of single cars and not really anything that's going to be too tricky to deal with here. Just got to hope he manages to get through without any little bits of silly contact that could cost him the win here. Gap now under 10 seconds. Oh, he got up nice and close behind that BMW there, Ferrari even. That's the second time I've got a car mixed up for a BMW. Very close to the back end of him there. It's going to cost him a little bit of time on the exit of this section. That gap might come back down to single digits, Carmen.
Very possible.
A lot of traffic in this middle sector now as well.
Yeah.
Again, it's these final 2 corners where you really don't want to get held up, and it's happening for Tamas again. But fortunately for him, I think the P2 car is going to have exactly the same issue with third place GT3 car, Karuma Motorsport. Gap though comes down to 9.1 seconds once again. Does the traffic take a turn against the Magic Arrow 55 car with 15.5 minutes to go? Wow, 2 seconds lost that lap. 26.4 for our leader and a 24.7 for P2. Is this them getting back into the rhythm now?
Potentially. We're going to find out. 8.5 the gap.
He's going to have a couple of GTs. Both of them are going to have a couple of GTs in an awkward spot here. If Blasco is lucky, he's going to get both of these clear before he enters the stadium section. He's really going to focus on his exit here. Otherwise, he's going to lose a really big chunk of time to the car ahead. He's going to have to be super duper aggressive to get this done and get both of them. Doesn't even get one. Gap's going to open back up to 9 seconds here, Carmen. He does get them both down into the hairpin though, but yeah, the gap was open back up as the leader gets a really clean run through the section. Absolutely no issues. 25.7. It's about as much as you could ask for with the traffic he's had last lap. I The second place car comes over the line. 25 watts, still faster than the car ahead. Wow, what a brilliant lap, even in all that traffic. I can see a gaggle, Carmen. I can see a gaggle on track. 4 GT3s between turns 6 and 7. Tamas is going to be the first car to get on the back of these. In fact, he's going to have 1 GT to deal with nice and early here. I don't think he'll be able to catch him before the kink at turn 7. But he's going to be able to have a go down the inside as the gap has dropped now again to 8.5 seconds. He's going to get held up into the Mercedes-Benz arena here. And then going to have loads more GTs to deal with next lap. Good little bit of traffic management there to get him through on that GT just after on the exit of the Mercedes-Benz arena. 8.3 seconds though is the gap. It has cost him a little bit of time. He's got to focus on his run through this section, because if he can get a really good exit from turn 16, he's going past 2 of those GTs before he even reaches turn 1. Sadly not close enough. Just a bit of traffic not falling his way in these last couple of laps has meant he's going to get held up a touch coming through the first sector here. Second place car is going to get a pretty clean run through turn 1. Going to have to avoid a GT on exit though. This isn't good for Tamas though. Around the outside of GT through turn 3 again. It's really, really tight through that section. Always makes me pucker a little bit coming through there when there's traffic. Actually, our second place car's got held up through that section as well. I think the gap's going to open back up to 9 seconds again.
Okay, possibly here.
Magic Arrow, keep everything you have crossed. Eyes, fingers, toes, legs, arms. You're going to need the traffic to fall your way here and against the second place car. If they can both just keep it clean here, I reckon the Magic Arrow 55 has got it. Just no silly mistakes from here on out. Eyes forward, take the traffic one at a time. Don't forget to hit your marks and just take care. 8.4 seconds is the gap. Next time by is going to be less than 10 minutes to go. Currently 11:35 on the clock. 8.2 seconds is the gap again now, but the XPD Emerald Racing car is getting held up again massively in this section. This section hasn't been friendly to these folks so far. And he's going to get held up again through turn 1. The same place as last lap, he's going to get more traffic. And the gap opens back up to 9 seconds. It's bobbling, Carmen, it's bobbling.
Now to send him down here into turn 2. And he will with ease. Garcia Blasco.
Held up again though on exit.
What a drive it has been so far. Nonetheless, with how this night turns out, 11 minutes to go. Mass Doubles Blue coming in.
I think we're going to have 7 or 8 more laps to go here, Carmen, as we come across the line. Yep, it's going to be 7 laps to go here, this time by. 7 more rounds of the Hockenheimring for the number 55 Arrow Magic car. Piloted by Tamas. 7.6 seconds is the gap to the car behind.
Yeah.
He can afford to lose a second a lap and he can still take this win. Every single time the car behind doesn't gain a second on him, that's more
chance.
time that he has to gain.
Here we go.
It's more
7.6 the gap.
and growing. I don't think the traffic's thick enough to really change the result of this race here, Carmen, but it is gonna be tight.
It's gonna be extremely tight right now, but you know, props to Alberto Garcia Blasco for giving it a shot here and putting everything on the line here. This hairpin's not gonna help him out at all, that's for sure.
Not at all. It is going to bring the gap back over 8 seconds.
Mass Doubles Blue, I think, had to do a drive-through. They ended up losing the Magic 056 car. There is a battle for position right here. Battle for 6th in class as we keep an eye on the time as well at the front.
Indeed, 0.7 of a second is the gap here. This could be the final pass of position coming up. Thank you very much again, folks, for joining us for these last 10 minutes of this absolutely fantastic 10 hours of the Hockenheimring. What a final 5 hours it's been. We've had crashes, we've had overtakes, penalties, everything in these last 5 hours that has led to the gap for the lead being less than 10 seconds. You couldn't wish for a race as good as this.
Less than 10 minutes to go here in the 10 hours of the Hockenheimring. Again, for everyone that is just now tuning in, there's anyone that's been all day with us. I'm Carmen, Sienna, alongside me, sports car champion and multi-class expert Taylor Mills.
Guten Abend.
For the last 9 minutes and change, Cone Garrett's in the 56 from Mexico 56, battling with the Mass Devils Blue car for the 6th position. Very valuable points between Mass Devils Blue and Magic Arrow in that battle there. Mass Devils Red likewise on the podium, firmly so, while Magic Arrows with the 55 car trying to take home the race win for the first time this season and solidify a championship advantage.
Mass Devil Racing Blue is going to have 6 more laps to make that move work and take P6 from the jaws of the where are we, Magic Arrow 56 car. This race has been so intense in this last hour. I'm losing track of everything, Carmen. I'm glad you're here to keep track of the championship points, because I have no clue what's going on in that respect. I'm just here to talk about cool race cars going zoom.
We get to enjoy it for another few minutes here. Again, for those that have just joined us and for those that have just followed us, you pushed us over 850 followers here on Twitch. We appreciate the support as we
Congratulations, Carmen.
As we approach our 3-year anniversary in 12 days on the 16th. Gonna be a lot of fun
awesome.
there. Appreciate all the support you all have given us throughout the first 3 years here on ABN. See, this battle here. Oh, trouble! This car spun!
Who's that?
That's the 56! Under-braking the 56 is spun!
Leader. The Mass Devils Blue is back in position to score more points, though. Could they hold on to their championship lead with that? No, I don't think so. I think it's too tight at the top of the standings. But
yeah, it's way too tight at the top of the standings. Magic Arrow will take over the championship lead and just holding this position right now. And that wasn't far away from the points leader either.
What a dramatic late change of position for a position that really matters.
And that was, again, that was the 56 spinning right in front of the 55 too.
Yep, the 55 has right slid there by them at the hairpin. Wow, that could have ended in disaster for both cars there.
That
7 seconds
so badly.
Carmen, I think we're coming to 4 laps to go here. It's getting tight.
Car coming in, Mass Devils Blues in! Mass Devils Blues in!
What?
Magic Arrow 56 gets 6th position back, firmly so. Mass Devils Blue in pit lane now.
Could it be an iRacing penalty?
That's a drive-through.
It's an iRacing penalty. That's not a steward penalty.
That's not a steward penalty. That's an iRacing penalty. That's an incident point limit penalty.
How did they get that? They must have had it a few laps ago.
I don't know if they got it a few laps ago or if they went wide and got an off track trying to avoid the spin.
They might have. Wow.
That's critical.
That's Magic Arrow 56 back in position.
Wow.
You couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up.
Less than 5 minutes to go for Norbert Thomas.
It'll be 3 laps on the line when Norbert Thomas comes round this time by. The gap to the car behind is going to be 8 seconds. He can afford to lose over a second a lap and he'll still win this race. He's just got to keep it clean and not take out any cars. We don't know how close he is on incident limits, but the last thing we'd want is this race to be decided by an off-track. Just looking physically on the track, that 7 seconds is huge. Our leader is coming across the start-finish line now, whilst P2 hasn't even come out the final corner yet. Such is the high-speed nature of this circuit. 7
Mixed
seconds.
Esports
is
just
an
set the
age.
fastest lap of this race, a 1:24.12.
That was an off-track lap, I believe. It does not count as the fastest lap of the race.
We'll have to double check because it's counting on our screens. It lit up blue on our screen. If it wasn't the fastest lap officially, it wouldn't have lit up blue.
Fair enough. I wasn't seeing it light up purple on my screen, but I'll take your word for it on that one.
Yeah,
But what a lap!
We'll
What a lap
here.
towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it's
2
no
seconds
matter
faster
what.
than the leader. Did I hear a car spin?
Yeah, that is a GT3.
Yeah. The number 11 GT3 has stopped on track in the final sector. They're rolling again. They must have just had a spin. Nowhere near the leaders though, fortunately. Plenty of time to get that clear. 6.8 seconds the gap between the lead and P2.
All Norbert Thomas has to do is bring it home. Mass Devils Red just took fast lap 1:24.016.
Wow, all that fuel saving has just made them able to go full ham at the end of this race. Wow, 3 wide into turn 1 as 2 GTs go. A GT goes around the outside of a GTP. It's all happening. 24.6 personal best.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, what a lap. That's a whole 0.6 of a second faster than the leader. It's not going to be enough this late in the race with 2 laps to go, but it certainly starts to put the pressure on Magic Arrow.
Everyone is unloading their hybrid systems, their hybrid deployment, all their power. They're unloading all of it now. I
think everyone's in qualifying mode. 24.0 is the fastest lap of the race, though, with a 24.1 that's followed it up straight away. Can anyone get into the 23s at the end of this race here? Have Magic Arrow got anything left in the tank to take the fastest lap?
Magic Arrow 55.
Keep your eyes on that flag stand as your leader, Norbert Tamas, piloting the number 55 Magic Arrow Cadillac, comes through the stadium section for what might be the second to last time. 2 more corners. It'll be close. It might be 2 more here, Carmen. I think it's going to be 2 more. Is the white flag in the air?
It is not.
So it's going to be 2 more tours then. Magic Arrow number 55, 126.4 last lap. Second place, 125.9. It's going to be 2 more opportunities for this entire race to unfold in front of our eyes, Carmen. Anything can happen in sports car racing. The gap is below 6 seconds. 1 mistake from Norbert Tamas could cost the number 55 Magic Arrow team their first race win in Platinum Endurance Championship competition. Plenty of GTs in front of him that could get in the way. 5.2 seconds is the gap now. It is absolutely collapsing behind him.
All he has to do is hold on.
That number 5 car has really picked up the pace in these last few laps, Carmen.
Just too little, too late. Way too little, way too late on that one. Working through lap traffic. I think if Thomas slows down just a little bit, they will throw the checkered flag here. It didn't display the white flag because of when he crossed the start-finish line.
Whoa,
that was really close to being a game ender right there for the 55. They'll get through.
It's going to check him up loads, though. Another something like that, and it's going to be game on for the end of this race.
6, 5. Does he slow down? He will not slow down. We will have 1 lap to go. 1 more lap in this race.
What lap are we on, Carmen?
We're on lap 394.
Wow.
Really, I think it's 399 with the 6. I know it's 400. The 6 laps we ran in the first 15 minutes. So we ran an even 400 laps in this race for the race leader.
Awesome. Shame it wasn't 20 minutes
laps.
Yeah, such is the nature of running tracks with such short lap times for 10 whole hours. Here in the dark at the Hockenheimring.
Most of this race in darkness.
Norbert Tamas cutting his way through 2 more GTs. The gap behind him is 6 seconds as he's pushed a little bit wide by the BMW. It doesn't faze him though. He gets it stopped from the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Comes out nice and cleanly. His eyes firmly set on the checkered flag at the end of this race, Carmen.
Absolutely. He spent so much time trying to keep this car forward. Thomas and Aaron Avner and company worked so hard to get to this point. The pressure was on by so many different cars, from the 71, the 5, the 7, all the way through with 2 corners to go. Magic Arrow is going to be a race winner. They're going to take the checkered flag here at Hockenheim. Norbert Thomas brings home the victory and the championship lead. And GTP,
wow,
with a personal best to cap off 400 laps here at Hockenheim. XPDM Raw Racing with Alberto Garcia Blasco taking home second place. Mass Devils Red will finish on the lead lap. A little bit of pride there for Sergio Bora, the pole sitter in this race. He will have a chance to finish on the lead lap here tonight. A phenomenal job in this race. Euromasters Esports wins in GT3 Pro.
And now let's jump on and follow the GT3 race leader.
Yeah, there you go.
The number 264 Euromaster Esports Porsche. Flashing the lights, coming round the final corner, swings it across the right, over to the pit wall, gives it a little weave, and takes victory in GT3 Pro.
Already across the line, second win of the season for Virtual Insanity Racing with Lemmy Mishk behind the wheel. And not enough can be said about the superhero in that 359 car to bring home the checkered flag.
Unreal, unbelievable drive. Unbelievable drive from that Virtual Insanity Racing car. Wow. Like, to finish in front of your class by 3 laps takes a lot of skill. 4, wow. Insane.
Not for the faint of heart. Norbert Thomas will burn it down. That Cadillac revving out.
DIR take a bow. I've got to say, they're my team of the race.
Absolutely.
Practically not flawless the entire way through, but to build such a gap in the first 7 hours or so.
Legitimately a contender to win GT3 overall.
Yeah, that things can go wrong in the end. And they still have a 4-lap lead is insane. Some celebratory donuts for the number 55 car. Well-deserved celebratory donuts. Yeah, celebrating together. That's fantastic to see. Of course, the number 56 team gaining back that P6 late on in the race after a drive-through penalty for the Mass Devils blue car, who effectively gave up the championship lead here today, and not particularly by choice, Carmen.
Yeah, that was a bit of a hot potato there for the 6th position between the spins and the drive-through penalties at the end there. But overall, I think for Magic Arrow, phenomenal day for the team. Championship lead for the 55, firmly in control. Following tonight's race, you see a lot of celebrations there, a lot of congratulatory, you know, the flashing of the headlights and the clutch drops.
And like I said earlier, spirit of the race, the number 11 Carbono Esports black car, 17 laps down. They didn't give up. They just plodded around for, God, what must have been 7 hours, like 17 laps down, just so they could bring the car home and score some points. Like, they didn't have to. They haven't exactly had a fantastic season so far, but just for the sake of racing, they made the choice to bring it home.
What a phenomenal
And I'm really proud
drive.
of them for it. Really proud of it for them. Yeah, what a shame. 15th place finish last time out, but bringing it home in 9th today, just because the race was such a race of attrition.
Absolutely. Just a wild race all across the board here. Hockenheim did not fail to entertain. Without a doubt. It's an absolutely phenomenal job here tonight.
Well, today's race threw everything at us, Carmen. We had a really dramatic fight for pole position in all 3 classes. We had a couple of crashes in the first session, and the first session got red flagged.
Yeah.
Like that, when does that happen? And then to come back and witness the quality of racing that we've seen today, the epic fights, the absolute pushing of the limits by all of the drivers when it comes to lapping and overtaking, it's been so dramatic.
And again, we do have some interviews coming up here. Winners in GT3 AM, I believe, are waiting for an interview here. So we'll get ready for that here in a second here. We'll talk to the Lemmy Michigan, Philip Spez. They are available. There was 3 drivers in that team tonight, with Nick Kirstens also involved in that effort. 3-car effort to win GT3 AM tonight by a phenomenal margin. Let's hear from Lemmy Michigan, Philip Spez, winners of GT3 AM. Lemmy, Philip, this is Carmen and Taylor from the ABN booth. Do you have a copy?
Hello.
Good evening, guys.
What
Wow.
a drive. P1 in GT3M, and really a solid drive to finish 6th overall in GT3. Walk us through it on your end.
Thank you. Oh
Well,
my god.
first of all, it's sad that Nick couldn't drive the race because of the delay. He had only one stint planned, the first one. Afterwards, he had to go. Unfortunately, it didn't was enough time for him with the delay from about 1 hour, 1.5 hours. He drove a fantastic qualifying for us, so kudos to him. Then Lemmy took over the race with incredible pace. It's crazy. Without the damage we got from the LMDHs, we might have a chance for even a higher position in overall class. For example, Lemmy is crazy. It's all his race, to be honest. I was just there.
Yeah, guys, you had it so easy out there on track today. Like, were you expecting to win the race by 4 laps?
Yeah, I mean, not
No.
very, because Technic were looking very solid, and we were only looking for, expand like the championship lead, and it happened, but not by 4 laps. I mean, we lost 2 or 3 laps by our damage. We repaired something in the race, like 1 minute and 30 seconds all. But overall, the car felt very nicely, and it was so nice to drive. And in the first stint, I was in the fight with P4, 5, and 6. Yeah, unfortunately, the LMDH went into me in the 4th lap of the race, so we got 2 minutes of damage there, and 30-degree steering wheel, unfortunate, but the car wasn't that much damaged. We went pace, and we got P1.
Yeah, such is the nature of a track as short as the Hockenheimring. It's a recipe for disaster almost. But even with all that, it's so easy for a race to become unraveled when you have the incidents that you folks had towards the end of the race. So how do you kind of get over that and move past it and make sure that you can still execute towards the end of the race?
Well, I think that's all about teamwork and team mentality. We pushed each other. We were there for each other for the whole race. And even if there's something happens, which will happen in such a multi-class race on a track like Hockenheim, we bring the other guy back up with the mentality and then keep pushing together. And that's basically the whole recipe to get over those situations.
Well, that's awesome. That's fantastic to hear, guys. So after today's race, has that kind of like changed your expectations going into Manicor?
Not very much, because we were like on the pace in Interlagos and Watkins. Watkins we won. Interlagos unfortunately not, because we had damage as well, and we had to fuel save. But I think we extended the lead by far, and I think we have like 43 or 46 points in the lead. So we want to win Magny-Cours, of course, and take the championship there.
Well, I like that. I definitely like the ambition and the sound of that. Again, Magny-Cours in 2 weeks' time here. Before I let you go, though, and let you celebrate, and obviously I think you all both got a race coming up here again later on tonight. So before we let you go and get ready for even more racing, if there's anyone to shout out and say thank you to, we'll start with you, Lemmy, since you put in the fast lap for the team. If there's anyone you all want to shout out and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congratulations on another incredible win here in GT3M.
Yeah, shout out to Spacey, my second driver. You were there to help me and keep me focused. And sorry, Nick, that you can't drive the first stint. You were so much on pace. And thank you for Watkins that you jumped in the car and helped us get the win.
And you, Philip, anyone you want to add to that?
I don't know. I just want to go to sleep, rest a little bit, and get it in Le Mans in 4 hours. I don't know. Leon is getting into there in 2 hours, and then I take over from him. So nothing unusual, I guess. We are now used to that. But no, thank you to everybody. Thank you to Nick. Thank you to Lucas. To all the guys in the team in the background who didn't drive today, who worked with us on the setup, who trained with us, even there didn't participate today. Thank you to my girlfriend that she allows me to drive. Yeah, and thank you to you, because I watched the stream. It was phenomenal, really. It was great to watch, great to hear. So thank you from your side, and thanks to the organization as well for the whole team in the background who make it happen that we can race together, have a nice race and a nice league. And bring such things together.
Absolutely. Lemmy, Philip, again, congratulations. Race win here at Hockenheim after 10 hours with a chance to lock up the championship in 2 weeks' time at Magny-Cours. Enjoy the race win. Enjoy the race coming up there for you all at Le Mans. And hopefully we get to see even more victory and podium celebrations 2 weeks from now in Magny-Cours.
Yeah, congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Oh, they're lovely.
Absolutely fantastic stuff there from the Virtual Insanity Racing team. Again, winners in GT3M. We'll go over the race results here based on what we saw tonight. We'll start off with GTP with the Magic Arrow, the 55 crew, taking over the championship lead with their race win here tonight. XPD Emerald Racing, second place with Mass Devils Racing, rounding out the podium finishing order tonight. Again, very interesting order here for that top three. And Nick's Esports, fourth place. They put in a lot of stellar drives at the end of that race, but unfortunately the beginning half of this race put them in a hole they just couldn't ever fully come out of. Future Racing Team Pro, a top 5 for them. I had a Magic Arrow 56. Mass Devils Racing Blue in top 7 with Go Esports, Carbano Esports, Black being the last drivers to score points here tonight. Then we have some of the DNFs that are going to be a little more painful to look at here. Project Dynamic Green, Stop and Go Racing, Rider Engineering Esports, F Racing, LMDH, Lithium Motorsports, and IPM Gold rounding out the top 15. All retirements here. Same with Race 2 Esport, who did not see much of this race here tonight. Moving on down to GT3. Euromasters Esports win in GT3 Pro ahead of Carbano Esports, JD Army, and Karuma Motorsport rounding out the podium. And obviously a lot of really talented drivers in this field. But what sticks out to you, Taylor, as far as how this race ended tonight?
I think just the quality of the racing. The drivers put on an absolutely fantastic show, end to end. There was always something going on in the race. Like even when all the gaps had expanded, and everyone had kind of settled into their positions, there was always a spanner that was thrown in the works to kind of bring us all back into focus on how dramatic and exciting this race was, and it just made it a really, really easy watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, running through the rest of the finishing orders there, you see the 7 cars in GT3M 5 of those cars took the checkered flag. So those 5 cars will all score points from Virtual Insanity Racing to pick up the pace in the 5th position. We get to do a lot more of this coming up here very soon. Again, we'll be live again in about an hour and 45 minutes for the ARC's Saturday Night Showdown Truck Series, the final race in the round of 10. Their playoffs happens tonight at Michigan International Speedway. So I don't get any rest, but always a lot of fun, and obviously a lot of fun having Taylor Mills, again, sports car champion and multi-class racing expert and aficionado here on the booth tonight. Hopefully get to see Taylor again, maybe in 2 weeks at Mandycore. A phenomenal drive as well. On behalf of everyone here tuning in tonight, on behalf of everyone here for the Platinum Endurance Championship at ABN Studios, on behalf of my co-commentator Taylor Mills, I'm Carmen Sienna. We want you everyone to stay safe, stay healthy, have a good weekend if we don't see you again tonight. But if we do, we'll see you in Michigan. Until then, take care, everybody.
Bye.